later in the year. It's fairly as one round.
Welcome to the Euro Circuit. We're here in Valkenswaard, Netherlands. I am Jim Beaver along with Hal Ridge. We're just getting ready to kick off the 2026 Rallyx season. Hal, I mean, we talk about history. Valkenswaard, this is Euro Circuit. This is history for Rallycross.
Yeah, right up there with the oldest Rallycross venues in the world. This was one of the forecomings of this sport way back in the 1970s, and fantastic to be here with Rallyx this weekend. Loads of great classes and loads of enthusiasm from the Dutch crowd for Rallycross in general.
Yeah, well, I know Rallyx coming back last year, this year really elevating things. We're going to have a max capacity crowd. I think I did a little research. 55th year, I believe, that Rallycross has been here. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, and like I say, it hasn't really evolved much, the circuit. It's changed a little bit. The Joker section behind us was added a few years ago, like it has been in most of the circuits in Europe now. But yeah, the basic layout is very similar to how it was in 71, and it's a venue that's super narrow, really high speed, but there's no margin for error with lots of little walls everywhere. It's an interesting place.
Yeah, well, and I love that we're starting the Rallyx season here because for me this year with Rallyx, I think it's a little bit of history, but it's also a little bit of progression. So to start the season out here, I know we have also got the North American Series. We're going to be going over there. Got iconic venues like Crandon that's also been around for 55 plus years. So I love that we're starting out with some history, and we're going to move into some newer facilities, both in North America and here. So I think it's going to be a great season of Rallyx all around the globe.
Yeah, and like you say, what a place to start. There's a lot to come this year. Some of the circuits in Europe are amazing as well. Back up to the north in Älvsbyn, a new venue in Finland as well, and then finishing up with some amazing venues in Europe as well in Denmark, Germany, and then Portugal. So there's a lot to look forward to.
I'm excited about Portugal, and I know we're going to have both North America and Europeans competing against one another there, so it really should be fun come year end.
Yeah, and the racing in Montenegro was brilliant last year. It's another circuit that's moulded into the landscape. You get lots of natural undulations. Yeah, I'm so excited about Rallycross in general, and yeah, there's some great venues this season.
I hear the party in Montenegro is pretty good too.
The party's always good in Rallycross. That's without doubt.
Oh.
So into the paddock here in the Euro Circuit, we're in the middle of the track, which is fairly unique for most venues. Same as Estering we'll go to later in the year. It's fairly condensed, and yeah, we're in the middle of the opening part of the day. Done a couple of free practice sessions. There's so much to learn here, Jim, because the Rallycross track evolves every single time you come to it, and when it's green, when it's fresh in the morning, the gravel's really loose, and there's a lot of cleaning. The times of tumble this morning in free practice.
Well, and I think one of the big things for me, talking about this year in particular here, is we're seeing a lot of new entries, some new names that we haven't seen before. You and I were talking, and I mean, you're the expert here, but I was like, I don't recognize these names. You're going, I don't recognize some of it either. So, I think that's one of the big storylines. We've got a lot of unknowns.
Absolutely. There's a massive contingent of local Belgian and Dutch drivers in open two-wheel drive, for example. Lots of new faces in open four-wheel drive in the FC2 cars especially. There's always young talent coming through in junior crosscar. There's some different crosscars as well. There's a whole range of new drivers in supercar lights too. So like you say, I think this is maybe the event with the most new drivers of any of the Rallyx events I've done since 2020, and yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? Because the form book's out the window. You don't really know what to expect, and it's going to be fascinating to see how the day unfolds.
Yeah, we've got the usual suspects. We've got the drivers we think are going to be fast, but you never know when one of these new drivers that might be a name we don't know is going to sneak in there and possibly take a podium spot.
Absolutely, I love that, and I love the strength and depth in a class like open two-wheel drive, where the local drivers are so difficult to beat on their home turf, but then you've got the real experienced hands in the Rallyx fraternity. Victor Hans, for example, reigning champion, and long-time front runner. It's a big task for guys like him, Slavomir Wallach in the BMW, to take on the locals when this place is so technical and so much about the details that it's very hard to go quickly straight away.
Well, I'm talking about open two-wheel drive. I find it interesting that it's so healthy here. I mean, I think out of the entire entry list, there's only 5 drivers that are non-Dutch or non-Belgian. I mean, to me, that's crazy that they really take their open two-wheel drive seriously here.
Yeah, Supernational in Belgium and Holland has been strong for a very long time. They actually split the categories slightly differently here with engine capacity. Open two-wheel drive, though, is exactly what it says on the tin. It's fully open. We can have a look behind us, Peter, at some of the cars queuing up. There is Victor Hansen, Slavomir Wallach, some of the Supercar lights, Nick Nayens in the Escort going out.
Yeah, well, and how about behind us? We just passed Savedlin. He's going to be moving up from Crosscar Junior to regular Crosscar. Amazing season last year.
Yeah, brilliant run in Junior Crosscar, sticking with the JC squad, who's so experienced, run by Joel Kristoffersen. Lucas Anderson, of course, switching from Supercar Lights to FC2 as well. And Vettel Tree remaining in Crosscar after such brilliant pace at the end of the campaign in 2025. This is Bart Bell in the Ford Focus Supercar in open four-wheel drive. And actually the driver that drove Bart's Focus last year, Nathan Otting, in a Supercar Lights this weekend. Mads Larsen was one of the stars of the progression in Supercar Lights last year. It'll be really interesting to see how he gets on this weekend.
You got to love the chaos happening in the paddock right now. Cars going, fans coming in. You got to love this. Everybody excited for this opener.
And it's so accessible. If anyone who hasn't been to a rallycross event before, this is how it really is. You can come and get up close and personal with the cars and the drivers and really get amongst it.
Yeah. Oh, look, we got Oliver Eriksson here.
We'll have to doorstep him. Hello, mate.
Yeah.
Welcome to Valkenswaard. You should be welcoming us because you came before us. How was your journey down?
Yeah, it was great. I had my little boy with me in a truck down here, so we drove down together, and it was a family trip.
You had a brilliant run here last year, and then lost out just at the end on one of the days with a puncture. I remember. How's it feeling around Valkenswaard in the FC2?
I love it here. I think the car fits really good here. We've done some updates, obviously, to all the FC2s for this year. Some damper updates which suit this track even more. So yeah, we're much quicker than last year, and good to see a lot of FC2s on the grid.
Well, I know obviously we see your brother back in too. How's it feel? It's been a while since you and your brother have gone head to head.
Yeah, it's good. He got the better of me. I catched the car on the time qualifying, so yeah, I missed out on my lap there. So he starts on pole, but yeah, I just need to grab it from him now.
All right, I love that family rivalry.
I
hated it.
Alvesbin 2024, when Oliver and Kevin took each other, they fell over each other. Let's say it was absolutely hilarious. Well, I enjoyed it anyway. I don't know if Oliver. Of course you did. Let's just pop over here quickly because Jim and I were in the bar last night and had a chat with this gentleman who's.
I was going to say we got to stop here. Absolute legend, Marcus Gronholm.
Studying the times. What are you studying the times on?
You don't.
WRC, yes.
WRC.
Yeah.
Some stage or so.
Who are you cheering for?
Nobody. I am just looking at how they are doing.
More importantly, you're here this weekend with a big responsibility, aren't you? Tell us what you're doing.
Responsibility? Yeah. Maybe not, but I am doing the spotter for Niklas. But we decided that I'm only going to say that take the Joker. Or maybe one word, Joker. So there will be no mixed and no wrong things.
And how do you decide which lap?
Yeah, we will see. I have to see. Strategy. We don't know yet. Maybe first, maybe last.
But we know how many laps it is now, at least, so that's good.
You told me in the morning it's 3 laps, but it's 4 laps.
So I was actually right on this one.
Yes.
Yeah, so we got.
Don't listen to everybody.
So the laps got increased yesterday. Normally it's 3 laps in a Rallyx heat, and now it's 4. But in all seriousness, it's just the two of you here. Niklas is super experienced now. Different type of car from what he's used to. Balance, I'm sure, is quite different. So it must be an interesting process for both of you to try and get up to speed.
Yeah, Niklas had no test and he came to the morning practice, and it was 3 laps and then 3 laps again. So after the first 3 he was, oh shit, it's difficult with the rear engine, and yeah, it's completely different. You cannot drive like you used to, so you have to adapt. And okay, second practice was already much better. So I think today it will be a little bit learning. Tomorrow maybe fighting.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. I mean, obviously he's got a phenomenal career. You as a driver, I mean, do you still get the same gratification watching your son race as you do when you did?
Yeah, from time to time, yes. When it's really heating up, it's for the semi-final, finals. Then it's okay. It's a little bit. I like to watch rallycross more than rally because it's so you can see everything and it's going quickly and fast. And so yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
If anyone needed it as a first day as a spotter, well, Marcus has seen a lot and he's worked with some amazing spotters in his career, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
So the joke was about the spotting was, as he said, oh, we're just going to take the Joker on the first lap so I don't forget it as a spotter. So that was the inside joke from this morning at breakfast.
Yeah, and it's tough. I always say as a spotter, you can only mess it up. It's like being the goalkeeper in football. You're expected to make the save. You're expected to deliver the right call, and if you don't, it's all on you. Drivers make mistakes all the time, so it's a tough job. And I know we're laughing about it, but it's a big part of this game.
Yeah. Well, and here's something behind us. We've got these piles of gravel and dirt. I want to talk a little bit about this, Hal, because yesterday we did our track walk. We were talking a little bit about the conditions here. But this is really sticky, unlike any of the dirt or dirt or gravel like I see in the United States. It was like glue on the inside of the wheels. Is that something different here at Valkenswaard? Is it something that they've got to worry about?
So that's largely the Dust-X. So in Europe, the Dust-X substance, which is historically a tree sap type substance, is put down to bind the loose together to suppress the dust. And there was a lot of that yesterday. And the loose here is very fine in places, and you do drag a lot of it onto the tarmac. We'll see the grip evolving through the weekend, and the sand traps, as you saw, they're not gravel traps really, they're sand traps, and they're super deep, and you're not coming out of those quickly.
Yeah, it looks like something off a golf course. It's they legitimately, I feel like they're just a sink pit.
Yeah, and you can get out of them, but it's it's not straightforward, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, and I know talking about this course overall, I know a little over a kilometer long. For those of you in the United States, it's about 2/3 of a mile, roughly my math, but a very action-packed circuit. I mean, like we said, been around for over 50 years. I'm really looking forward to the racing, and generally lends itself to some very tight battles.
It does, and we're about to see some of those soon. We go live with open two-wheel drive very soon, but now let's have a look back at the highlights from Q2 from Crosscar Junior and Crosscar.
Qualifiers.
So this was the start of Q2 just a little earlier, and now this is a big part of the challenge from the commentary box, is learning all of these new liveries for a brand new season, especially when there's a few Belgian and Dutch runners in all of the categories this weekend, but certainly in Crosscar and Crosscar Junior. Some new manufacturers as well in Crosscar as well. There is Ease Etc. in the blue machine. Didn't finish the first qualifying, ended up lower down the order, was 4th quickest there in Q2. That's Mirror Sinks in the CMOG. The green machine in the shot there. The track cleaning a lot through the first couple of qualifiers. Look at this, Jim, where they get the car set up, the rear sliding. There's a real clean line there on the inside where they've just gone nose to tail, and you've really got to get the nose back and not wash out too wide.
Well, and one of the things I've noticed this morning through practice and now some of the opening qualifying sessions is it seems very slippery. You told me it's a very slippery track, but from what I've seen, I went, wow, this is very, very slick.
It is indeed, and this is the last of the Q2 races for Junior Crosscar. Look at Yarahuka on the inside there, the big old send up the inside into the hairpin. Turn 3, a spin there for Alex Antila, one of the front runners from last season. Yarahuka actually recovered to set the best time ahead of Pim Claassen, who is leading there at the moment. So it's Huka who sits top of the order after the first two qualifiers. We'll see Q3 live later on today. There's a few names you'll recognise in that order, and there's a few you absolutely won't because they're brand new, and I can't wait to see how all this unfolds.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big stories we talked about kind of in our open is there are a lot of new names this year that neither of us are familiar with, so we're really going to have to see how things shake out. Looks like we're going to get a look here at Crosscar as they go out into their Q1 qualifier.
This is the highlights of what we've seen so far in Q2. That's a spin there for... couldn't catch it. It's so tough. I cannot tell you how tough it is.
Well, and there's not a lot of body panels to actually have
and this,
a livery.
And this early in the year, it's I'm hold my hands up. It's not my forte is this long distance recognition, but you can do all the wandering around the paddock you want, but until you've seen the cars from the drone shot or from the high camera angles, that's actually relevant in FC2 in open four-wheel drive. I had a bit of a chat with Kevin Ericks earlier and sort of pleaded with him to put a bit more of a distinguishing feature on the roof of his car rather than Nicholas Gronholm's because they look identical at the moment. And it's tough, the recognition of the vehicles, but we'll get there as we continue to look at Crosscar. There is some of the more familiar faces. There's Riku Hukar, who has done a lot of Rallyx in the last few years there at the back of the pack.
That was Timmermans there in the 114, a little over rotation.
Espinese, etc. as well in the blue machine up front, bit of contact. And that's one of the most slippery corners on the track, Jim, in the final turn, because all that loose from that long right-hander just gets dragged on and dragged on and dragged on to the tarmac. The tarmac's super slippery anyway in its own right, but as the track evolves, it gets more and more less grippy.
Well, and that corner's got a lot of banking, so you're carrying a lot of speed in that transition from the dirt to the tarmac, and as you said, it brings all the gravel onto the tarmac. It gets really loose.
Van Hoof there at the front of the order, gone second quickest in Q1, made the best of the starts there in Q2. Thomas Eek Merstad riding the curb beautifully with the Speed Car Wonder R. What a machine the Speed Car Wonder is. The way Thomas Eek Merstad, I'm sure you will enjoy watching him this weekend because he's absolutely at one with the blue and red machine. But it's a local driver who tops the standings at the moment with Van Hoof ahead of Eek Merstad and Balsac.
Looks like one of the interesting notes I saw, Svedlin making his, I believe, debut in the Crosscar category.
Correct, yes.
Moving up from junior, so interesting one to watch this weekend. We'll see how that transition works for one of the most dominant drivers in junior last year. Yeah,
and the junior category is such a great grounding for senior Crosscar. Yes, they're limited on RPM, they're nowhere near as fast, but the basic concept of how the chassis works is very, very similar. They are the same chassis with some limitations. So that step up is quite often... The progression is very quick, but ultimately you're going a lot faster, and the Crosscar is so competitive. You one small error and you lose multiple places in the order. So I think that's where the juniors really have to hone their consistency as much as their outright pace.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also with them with being a lack of power compared to like we'll see the open four-wheel drives later on and the FC2 cars. When you do make a mistake, it's really hard to recover that time back because you don't have that horsepower, to bail you out and to recover as quick. So it's like one small mistake, it penalizes you for the next corner or two.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the nature of any sort of lightweight two-wheel drive machine, isn't it? I always say an open four-wheel drive supercar, FC2, whatever it's quick to get you into trouble, but it can get you out of trouble. And when you're in these rear-wheel drive cross cars, you've just got to be so precise and nimble all the time.
Yeah, well, I know obviously we have Crosscar and Crosscar Junior wrapped up. We're getting ready to go open two-wheel drive, and this has got to be one of the biggest category. Well, it is the biggest category here. A lot of new names, a lot of local entries, both Dutch and Belgian, but really excited to watch how this shakes out because we've got some really strong contenders.
Yeah, and local knowledge is so important here. We really saw that last year when Rallyx came to Valkenswaard for the first time. The regular front runners in Rallyx didn't have things all their own way, but I think that knowledge that those drivers like Victor Hansen, like Slavomir Wallach and co learned last year will be really useful. But yeah, the local Belgian and Dutch guys will take some beating this weekend.
Well, and I think what we saw from Crosscar, this track, it's to me, it's entertaining to watch the two-wheel drives because, we're used to watching the all-wheel drive cars, and here, being the slippery, loose conditions, you really got to get that rotation.
Yeah, and let's have a look at the track now with, an onboard lap as we look over this amazing venue here in Valkenswaard. We're riding on board with Nicholas Gronholm, who had never driven an FC2 car before this morning. Clip of the curb there on the left-hand side in the chicane. This first corner is multi-apex right-hander, and it's so easy to just lose a little bit too much time. Kevin Eriksson was actually telling me this morning, Jim, that he walked the track for the first time yesterday and he thought, oh, there's lots of space between the corners, but actually, because it's so narrow and quick, it comes at you so quickly. Nicholas here remaining on the standard lap right over that curb on the left-hand side. There'll be no track markers there this weekend. This is the bank corner you were talking about leading into the final turn. It's a quick, short, sharp lap here at the Valkenswaard Euro circuit into the chicane once again. And there's Nicholas finishing his run, but yeah, it's frenetic if nothing else.
Yeah, and that chicane, it's one of my favorite features on the track, and obviously my first time seeing it was yesterday, but as you said, a lot of cars cutting it close. They go up on two wheels, and I know there's some penalties assessed, right, if you hit the markers. Yeah,
there's penalty markers there. I mean, ultimately what I'd like to see is a big curb, and I'm hugely in favour of there being natural obstacles, so we don't need the penalty markers. But that's the shape of how that corner is. So 3 seconds for hitting one of the markers, and there's been quite a lot of drivers actually in the first couple of qualifiers that have been handed penalties.
Well, and now speaking of that, we are getting ready to go down to the grid because we're ready to start Q3 for all classes.
Met de BMW E6 Amerikanen zijn we nog even aan het wachten op die Ford Escort. Komt die is er? Nee, want die was er op de eerste reeks niet. Dus
up for open two-wheel. Looks like we're looking for one more.
and Johnny Verkeuringen.
Q2, open two-wheel drive. Got Garvelink, McGarry, Ertz, Verkeuringen.
Second heat of the open two-wheel drive. We're going to start with Dirk Garvelink on lane number 1. Lane number 2, Peter McGarry, who just stopped by at the Pierre Eklund corner.
Love that. We got the
and Johnny Verkeuringen is
Netherlands flag waving.
Of being the fastest in lane number 4. And
some small delay here at the start.
Looks like we're looking for one more car.
I think someone maybe moved there, Jim, and has perhaps triggered the jump start sensor. Peter McGarry. So none of these drivers completed. All of these drivers failed to finish the first race, well, the first session in Q1. McGarry had been actually really quick, was P4 and then P10 in the 2 practice sessions. Done lots of work on that Polo.
Getting ready to launch. Hear those engines crank up. Gonna be doing 4 laps. I just love how they spin there. Used to watching the all-wheel drives and immediate get that grip, and with the two-wheel drives, they just spin off the start.
Yeah, especially when we see the front-wheel drives later on as well. It's frustrating if you're looking for that traction. Look at the clean line there through turn 2. Now the run down into 3. You can see where they've really done the track work over the lunch break. McGarry leading from the front with his much revised Polo. He's had that car a couple of years now, and he's done a huge amount of work to it over the winter. Again, to try and perfect things. There's Johnny Verkeuringen in the Joker lap for the first time of asking. Raced his Supercar Volkswagen Scirocco here last year, but had an engine failure late on in the season, so he's back in two-wheel drive. You're like this, Johnny's actually a gold dealer as his day job. So
I saw the branding when we went by their tent. Yeah, it's a gold dealer.
So that's a good way to fund your racing, isn't it?
You know, let's talk a little bit about that Joker a minute, because I know kind of the strategy when we race, but is there a different strategy in qualifications? Because you have to...
Sorry, Jim. Verkeuringen just got it all crossed up on the brakes and ran into the ear of Garvelink. Got away with it, though. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, and it leads us into the Joker, but is there a strategy in qualifying when you want to take that? I know in the race there is. Is there a different strategy in qualifying? Because you have to take it once per session.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately every race you need to finish as high up as you can to get the best time. All of these sessions are based on time, and it's how those times stack against each other based on all the other races that have happened is how the order works for each of the heats and then the intermediate classification. But ultimately you want as much clear air as possible. Now sometimes if you're an inexperienced driver, you might want to jump on the back of a car ahead to try and utilise them to drag you along a little bit, and sometimes you'll want to be in the traffic to use that pace around you, but ultimately you just want free air. You want to drive on your own. There's no one getting in the way, there's no one affecting whether you feel under pressure or not. So with a 3-car race and a 4-lap session, really you should all joke on a different lap. What these guys also came from, certainly McGarry, who is really hoping to be in the final this afternoon. He's obviously had a DNF in the first one, which is a bit of a nightmare for him, but he's not actually having to race hard here because he's in a group which isn't maybe as competitive as the last session will be. So really you can utilise that in McGarry's position to lead from the front, try and get a good time.
I want to look at this inside apex here, because earlier, I mean, especially second car there, that is Verkugen, Johnny, I believe, but he was really close. I mean, I'm almost rubbing that door on the inner apex.
Yeah, it's just there's a little kick in the wall there as well, so you can't get too close to that little concrete wall as McGarry comes round the final corner for the last time, and he's going to stop the clock with a 2:58.7. So for reference, the track is a bit greener now, given that they've watered and re-prepared the circuit over the lunch break, and wow, the times, a 2:45.7 for Christoph Becks was the fastest in Q1, so that's a long way off. Where would a 2:58 put him? So that would have been good enough for 12th overall, but I would say the track's much slower now than it was this morning. And this, for those that watching Rallyx for the first time, you can't really directly compare session for session because the track changes so much. It almost changes lap by lap, so it's very difficult to say, oh, he was much quicker or much slower now until we see the other cars within this actual session.
Right, so we've got 4 more here on the grid. You're going to have to help me with these names.
Yep, Martin Verhoeven. We've got Thomas, the Hulk, on the outside as well, who has been a regular in Rallyx the last few years, and a couple of front-wheel drive cars in here as well, and we'll see that through the course of the afternoon, that we've got the 2-wheel drive final for open 2-wheel drive later on, the front-wheel drive final, sorry. But those front-wheel drive cars are also racing within the wider open 2-wheel drive category, and historically in a front-wheel drive car you can do the same lap time as a rear-wheel drive car, but it's just getting off the line because you're scrabbling away with the front wheels. It's a very different launch.
And it's a completely different driving technique with a front-wheel drive versus a rear-wheel drive car too. That's what I find interesting. See, they run competitive times because it's completely different driving style. One of the other things I find interesting is we talked about, you know, in the Open, the local contingent here of entries, both Dutch and Belgian, and the 2-wheel drives. It's just amazing that this area produces so many good, talented drivers in these classes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I really like about the open 2-wheel drive category is just the innovation and the variety of machinery. We're seeing that with Van Hove racing up front with the BMW 1M. He's had to switch to that late on with some issues with other stuff he was planning to do, but the whole gets sideways in the background.
That was a big drift. That wasn't planned, but looked pretty.
Yeah, it's just where that gravel's getting dragged onto the left-hander. That would be turn 4, really, wouldn't it, if you're looking at the circuit map? And these are the bollards we were talking about in the chicane as well. You give those a wide berth if you want to avoid a penalty.
They do have some rumble strips there in the corner, but as we were talking about, they're not really that big, so a lot of the cars can just kind of skip right over them.
Yeah, I'd say the majority don't really feel them. If anything, some of the cars in open 2-wheel drive will feel them the most because perhaps they don't have the suspension travel of the open 4-wheel drives, and then the cross cars just weigh so little. And they've also got, you know, brilliant flexibility in the chassis with quite a lot of travel for what they are in the cross cars.
All right, so we've got one of the drivers taking a joker on that lap.
Good to see the joker merges as those play out, just to see where people are slotting in and not. But there's big gaps in this one. Let's have a look at the lap time. Best lap on a 43.8 for Van Hove is 2 seconds faster than the best of anyone else. So a big pace disparity in this one.
2-wheel drives definitely a lot slower pace in this one than the rear-wheel drive cars. excuse me, the front-wheel drive cars, not the two-wheel. Front-wheel drive, different pace than the open two-wheel drive.
Yeah, tricky, isn't it? When they've watered the track as well in the lunch break, the grip really changes, and that will harm the front-wheel drives as well. That little bit.
But as you said, I think especially in the two-wheel drive category, this is a very loose track, and being that now you're in a two-wheel drive car, it's changing lines, trying to find the grippy area, because it's really a fight when you're in a two-wheel drive car.
Van Hove takes the win then on a 3:02.5, so that is significantly slower than McGarry went on his 2:58. Wasn't even as quick as Johnny Verkerningen, so drops into third overall does Van Hove.
Hey, there's the slip there as he went from the gravel to the tarmac. Rear of the Hulk's car there. Just look at that, 6 seconds Van Hove over second place. We got 5 on the grid now. It's open two-wheel drive. Heat race 3. Excuse me, race 3, heat 2. Hendricks, Geenan, Hermans, Wallach, Van Holst on the line. Gonna be doing 4 laps. One of the interesting changes they made yesterday at the drivers' meeting. They're supposed to be doing 3 laps. They opted to do 4 laps.
Oh, it's tight in the first corner there from the drone shot, as Wallach made the best of the starts. Now running a compressor on his Automax Motorsport run. BMW was familiar last year. Wallach did a lot of time building sandcastles in the paddock last season because he spent so much time in the gravel traps on the outside, but clearly feeling comfortable in that car. Tom Geenan goes into the Joker for the first time of asking. Jos Sturkin's brother-in-law is Tom Geenan. Jos, a massive name of Belgian rallycross in the sports history.
I see that. It's just interesting. They're hugging those inner pylons. It's just great to watch the dance they've got there, because the minute you hit one, it's a 3-second penalty.
Hendricks going well in the front-wheel drive Ford Fiesta.
Currently running second in the session. It is Wallach out front. See who takes the Joker this time by. Oh, looks like everybody's staying on the main line. Means with 2 to go after this pass, we're going to have quite a few of these drivers end up taking the Joker in those final 2 laps.
Top 3 still to go. I would imagine Wallach will wait till the end. There's absolutely no reason not to here. Hendricks is going well, but is not troubling Wallach. Wallach's done a 43.2. So in the last one, Van Hove did a 43.8. So he's nibbling away at the lap times here. Will this trouble Peter McGarry at the top of the order? I would imagine, based on how much he's taking out of Van Hove's best laps, then that potential exists. Herman's doing a good job in the Ford Escort in third as well. Veteran driver, but under pressure from Tom Geenan, who has taken the Joker. And this is part of the Joker strategy where Geenan's been in and he's now losing time behind Hermans because he's right behind the Escort driver.
Right now, though, it is Wallach out front. Open two-wheel drive. Got to give a lot of credit to Hendricks there in that front-wheel drive car, sitting in the second spot. Let's see if the Joker gets taken here.
Wallach had so much lock on there into the hairpin, because we've got quite a lot of glare on our monitor here in the studio. I did wonder if he'd broken the steering for a moment, but clearly just had that much lock on trying to get the nose of the car turned in.
And we're going to, there is a pass, like you said.
Geenan just clearing Hermans now as Wallach drives for the line. He's going to stop the clocks with a 2:59.1, so it's not good enough to beat McGarry's best time of a 2:58.7 so far. Nevertheless, a good run from Wallach, and he'll be pleased with some consistent pace here. Look at the start from slot 4 on the grid. Came across early. I'd have to check with race director Rainis Nittis what the protocol is around the white lines, because in theory you're not normally allowed to cross across the white lines once you've started, but we'll yeah,
because I think you're not allowed to change position until after you clear the white lines, correct?
Depends how hard they're policing it. There's usually a parameter of so far, so there might be another marker somewhere that we don't currently know about.
All right, so brings us to our results from Q2. That was Wallach in the top spot, Hendricks, Geenen, Hermans, and Van Holst. That was your running order. You said Wallach, amazing effort there.
Die strakke BMW E30, Michael Allerwijnse, Erik Lidman. Oh, zo'n fantastisch mooie zwarte akjes.
Race 4 of Open two-wheel drive. There's a lot of these two-wheel drive machines this weekend. What a proper old-school rallycross category. Nick Nayens on the inside has been a regular in Rallyx the last few years. Van Lommel was super quick in some of the events she did last year. But Eric Lidman there with the BMW, who's made the best start, takes the lead. Has been a regular in Rallyx up in the Swedish events in recent seasons, but has come down as part of a two-car effort this weekend with Nason in the FC2 as well. Oh, gets run into the rear there, runs wide.
All four of these, or five of these cars are very, very close in speed. I love this. This is proper. I mean, we've got a Peugeot, an Escort, a couple of BMWs, and a Volvo. I love the mix of two-wheel drive.
And this is old school rallycross. This is where you would have had such a wide variety of cars, and things have changed a bit in recent years, and people obviously go with what the proven package is, but there's still a load of variety in two-wheel drive. Lidman has recovered there from that little nudge wide. I wonder if Rainis Nittis will look at that. Hopefully we can start chatting to Rainis across the weekend on the broadcast and hear his thoughts on such matters. But Van Lommel now with the home advantage is out front, and it's Nick Nayens now who's applying the pressure to the rear of Eric Lidman.
Yeah, just a phenomenal effort there from Van Lommel, just really starting to gap the field here with 3 laps to go.
Läuft alles für die Damen im Feld.
And we do have our top 3 yet again, just like the previous heat, that are going to have to take that joker probably towards the end of it. So you have the 4th and 5th place driver in this one have taken it.
Van Lommel is absolutely flying now up front, 42.7 last time around. Wallach's best was a 43.2, so this will, barring any disaster for Van Lommel, go to the top of the timesheets with several races still to go.
Well, look at that. He took it probably a lap earlier, had the big gap and decided to take it and pull the trigger. Now the rest of the field's going to catch back up with him, but wise choice. He stayed out front and took it early.
Yeah, sometimes that. Well, that's the requirement of the spotter, and I know we were having a bit of a laugh with Marcus Gronholm early on, but you need to be timing those gaps and see when the best opportunity is. And I'm a massive advocate of joking when you can, because should you get a puncture now, and if Ariane got a puncture now, she could manage that and still potentially hold the lead. If you've still got to take the joker and take that alternative route, you're dead and gone really, aren't you? So I'm a big advocate of taking it when you've got the gap. It's tricky to do that as a spotter, to put your driver in that position if you don't have the confidence in them that they can manage the pressure. But if you're fully satisfied that you can put your driver into that situation, then I think it's a wise choice.
Oh, a little bump there was as they came back together out of the joker. And it is going to be Van Lommel at the line with the fast time. Going to see how that stacks up with the rest of the field.
2:57. 7:53 is the quickest time so far. McGarry, though, will remain second and Wallach third of those that have been in this run. That's where Lidman lost out on the opening lap, getting nerf wide.
Do you feel like this track now, I mean, you've seen this track a lot more than I have. It seems like it's getting a bit quicker as these qualifying sessions go on. Yeah,
so what we're seeing now is the fact that we've had an hour break for lunch. As we see the results of that, Van Lommel takes the win. Yeah, we're seeing that the track prep they've done over the lunch break is the longest period they'll have to work on the track at any point during the day. So actually the track's got loads slower now for the start of the afternoon, and you're right, it will progressively get quicker. And it will be much quicker by the end of the day than it was at the start, that's for sure.
en vingers af te leggen, dames en heren. Want
All right, so this is Heat 2, Race 5,
met zijn machtige
open two-wheel drive.
These are the fastest drivers from Q1 in open two-wheel drive, with reigning champion Victor Johansson all the way from the very far north of Sweden there on the outside.
De Mercedes 190, Victor Johansson, die het zo goed deed in Heat number 1. We zijn benieuwd.
Christoph Beck's on pole. Maynix in the meme machine, he calls it, the red Volvo.
Which was a winner here last year.
Steve Volders third. Verhoeven in slot number 4, the yellow BMW with the black bonnet you can see there in the middle of the shop.
BMW once again, also a BMW on lane number 4 and lane number 5.
This is going to be a great. This is going to be a great race here.
It will be quite an interesting race. Will it be the Beaver machine?
Start's going to be crucial. Oh, looks like we had somebody jump. It was Volders, I believe.
It was indeed.
Jammer genoeg, Steve. Hij sluit dadelijk weer achter hen aan. Hij weet het goed genoeg. Als enige stoot de hele grond door. En hij kan
Pull back in.
2 jokers will be the penalty for the jump start. Jump again and you're out. So the second jump start is, well, the second start is usually a little bit more wary because you definitely don't want to jump a second time. Historically, there have been all sorts of rules around the jump starts in Rallycross history, but historically the first person to jump wouldn't get a penalty, and then the second person to jump would. So you'd often see people jumping the first start to try and get the pressure on the other guys so that they would potentially jump the next one.
Penalty. Well, I tell you what, 2 jokers is brutal. I mean, that's tough, especially in a qualifying session.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've seen people make it work in the past, but it's yeah, it's a big compromise, but it's also a big mistake. So you know, it comes with the territory.
Well, I mean, these are the 5 fastest drivers through that first heat. So you know, they all know there's a lot of pressure because it's the best that are here this weekend, right here in this heat.
Look at that start from the outside from Victor Johansson. That Mercedes, with its hybrid internal combustion electric powertrain, really driving him nicely off the line, leading this train of saloon machinery. The meme machine there in second. Maynix really at one with that chassis as Volders gets up the inside in the background.
Look at that drift, just carrying it through the corner. What a beautiful turn.
Into the joker for Verhoeven. As Maynix takes the chase to Johansson. In the background, Volders also took the joker at the first opportunity.
Maynix and Johansson last year splitting victories here, rounds 1 and rounds 2.
Johansson jokers early here. Now that is an interesting strategy because he was under big pressure, but with all of the quick drivers in this race, you clearly want to get out of someone, ahead of someone like Christoph Beck's. Beck's is a legendary name here in Belgium and Holland in this super national type category, and yeah, I would say that Johansson's chosen his battles wisely there. He's at least covered off to be second, if barring any disaster, unless there's an overtake. Oh.
Bex is really applying the pressure. Oh, Bex gets into the back of Johansson, spins.
That was clumsy at best, but definitely a racing incident. They got side by side in turn 1 and then got the nose up the inside once again, and just that small amount of contact, especially in a rear-wheel drive, because as you well know, you pick the throttle back up and there's nothing you can do, is there, your passenger?
When a 2-wheel drive starts to go, it's really hard to bring it back.
In a front-wheel drive, at least, it's much like a four-wheel drive that you just bury the throttle and hope for the best and point it in the direction you want to go. But in rear-wheel drive, you really need to massage the throttle.
Well, Maynix still out front. Johansson with the contacts, drop back a little bit, still in the second spot. Big drift out of there, out of York Maynix.
Maynix has done a 40.6 on lap time.
So he's going to take his joker.
This will definitely be the fastest time.
See if Johansson has anything. Well, it looked like he slid it a little wide there.
Photographers getting covered in gravel, weren't they, trackside? As Manix rounds the final corner and drives for the line, the time is going to be a 2:49.2. Wow, Van Lommel, who was top ahead of this session, ahead of this race in this Q2 session, had done a 57.7. So that is a massive time from the leading contenders. Bex had done a 2:45.7 in the first session, so the time is only just shy of that. Plus a bit of racing, where you always lose a little bit, and the track definitely not being quite as clean as it was. This is the incident.
Yeah. Look at you, just like you said, just a racing incident. Kind of got into it, just enough to bring the nose around. Doesn't look like any damage done to either of the cars, but definitely a tough break there for Bex because he was pushing very, very hard. Brings us to our results. Manix on the top spot. Victor Johansson in the number 1. In the second spot, Verhoeven, Volders, and then Bex finishing up in the 5th spot. It's going to be a tough one for Christoph Bex. Very, very fast car, but after the contact, it's going to push him down the standings.
On to Supercar Lights Q2 Race 1. And are we missing Roberts Vittels here?
Van Dassler, Jonas, Darbeck, and Vittels.
I don't think Vittels would be in this one because he was fastest in the first session, so I think that perhaps that's something awry with the graphic.
Safety car checking things out where the incident.
See the sand has been pulled onto the circuit, but that's not really the line. You can see the line around the outside, so I don't think they'll clean that up. 2 debutants in this Supercar Lights race, and Kevin Darbeck. Darbeck, the Danish driver, had a transmission issue in Q1, did drag the car to the line, but was well off the pace. It's been a tough morning for the Darbeck family because his brother Tobias in the FC2 had a transmission issue in practice, but both of those issues are now resolved. And really, you'd say that Kevin Darbeck from the 3rd slot here is odds on in this one, given his experience. Really developed last year to be a proper front-running contender in the lights category.
I know Van Dassler, the reigning Dutch champ, so see what he's got. No stranger to this track.
Knows the track. First competitive outing in a 4-wheel drive car, always a challenge, and similarly for Mats Jonas on his debut in lights as well. Pretty even start across the grid. These lights cars, very difficult to make a big difference away from the line. Darbeck drops into 3rd. Now it'll be interesting to see what Darbeck does strategy-wise here. He's going to look to the inside. Thinks better of it. As the 2 rookies run 1-2 at the moment.
Yep, going to take an early joker. Probably not a bad idea running in 2nd.
Fast line to the joker this time around. Quite wise, I would say, because that's also stopped Darbeck going into the compulsory extra route. And wise of Darbeck, absolutely, to not follow. Absolute sacrilege to follow into the joker when you've got the option to bail. Having said that, we've seen many times in the history of rallycross people making a last-minute decision to not follow and messing it up.
Yeah. You try and split the middle and it becomes catastrophic.
Yeah, I can hold my hands up as someone who's crashed into the barrier in the middle of the joker split at Estering. So interesting strategy from Mats Jonas, who jokers this time around. This is to cover off JVD in the background. He's done that job well, but actually this has massively opened this race up for Kevin Darbeck. And if Darbeck can find the sort of form that we've seen from him in the past, then really he ought to start pulling away at the front of this field. But that's not to take anything away from Jonas and JVD in the background, because they're 2 very talented drivers who are stepping into these cars for the first time. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be slow, though.
Yeah, we're going to watch Darbeck to take the joker this time. Bias is trying to stretch the field out.
I think he'll go again, to be honest. I think he'll want the clean air to try and extend the margin.
Yeah, Yep, you're right. So we're going to see it on the last lap. So he's trying to gap the field as much as he can. They're trying to narrow the gap. Got the bumper flying off of Jonas's car in the back.
Disposable parts, the rear bumpers on a supercar light. So Khalid from Avitas Motorsport is here this weekend. I wonder if he's got a stung. I have to go and ask him. I wonder how many light rear bumpers they've produced since 2013 when the concept was first introduced.
They probably lost count 1,000 bumpers
yeah,
ago.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Especially on the nitro tracks of late, which with all the massive jumps and stuff, they were very much a consumable item.
There goes Darbic, going to be taking the Joker. We're going to see how he comes back in. Should have plenty of room, and he does. So he's going to retain the lead. So it's going to be Darbic, Jonas, and JVD, unless something changes in this last corner. Remarkable bit of driving for Darbic to take the victory here.
Time isn't there though, really, and if we look at how open two-wheel drive compared in that last fastest race compared to the previous session, it was a few seconds, whereas Darbic here has done a 2:46.8. That would have only put him 6th in the first run. Roberts Vittles went faster than our 2:39.4, so it'll be interesting in this next run to see what pace these next drivers can produce. There is Darbic's time, 2:46.829.
Number 3.
All right, another group of supercar lights on the line. Q2 race 2. We're going to have Vittles, Nathan Ottink, Lindenquist, and Larson in this one. Ottink, local driver, actually doing double duty this week and running in 2 different divisions. It's a lot on a driver to jump out of one car, get into another. Makes for a long weekend.
Good start from Mats. Larson on the outside.
Contact.
There's contact between Vittles and Larson. Vittles runs deep, and it's Ottink who's got up the inside. Linkvist looks to the inside as well in the white machine with the Swedish flag on the roof in the background. Vittles commits hard to the hairpin, gets the nose back up the inside of Ottink. Ottink was a real star of Rallyx last year in the open four-wheel drive Pro-Am category with the Ford Focus that we'll see Bart Bell drive in a few moments' time, but really getting on top of this lights car very, very quickly indeed.
Interesting choice by Larson. I thought running in the back might take the Joker on the first lap, decided not to.
And he's got a super experienced campaigner in Yorick Linneman on the radio as well, so I wonder why they've made that decision, because I think you're absolutely right, Jim. I would have sent him in to get some free air. Alexander Linkvist running 3rd was... we gave him a medal actually from this event last year because he was absolutely sendy in the chicane in his cross car. Stepped up to Supercar Lights this year with the OMSE team.
It's Larson going to be forced to take the Joker this time by getting into it Lindquist.
Good strategy that actually. If you can get up the inside on the exit of the hairpin and then just carry that momentum around the outside, you carry so much more speed in rather than waiting behind the car in front of you. Roberts Vittles, the super experienced Roberts Vittles, is massively applying the pressure to Nathan Ottink here. Vittles can be rightly disappointed not to have come away with the title last season. Just didn't quite work out for him in the end, but he was super fast. There was a range of drivers last year that could have won the Lights Championship, and Vittles back for a bit more this year. Had a look at selling the car, decided he wanted to do a bit more racing with support from the Team Fahren squad. He's going to drop behind Linkvist. This race just is not working out for the Latvian at the moment. Linkvist gets a bit wide into that super slippery final corner. This is all playing into the hands of Nathan Ottink at the moment.
Ottink going to have to take the Joker on this last lap, as is the current driver in 2nd, the number 4 of Lindquist.
The pace is a bit all over the place though, because in the background it's Larsen who's gone quickest on a 39.1, 39.4 for Ottink.
Oh, look at that, Larson. Oh, look at the pass right there on the inside of that very tight hairpin.
Linkvist into the Joker. This time around, drops back behind Vittles. Ottink's done a great job here to take the win.
And Larson, great run from 4th to 2nd on that last lap.
A 42.7 for Nathan Otting. That is the fastest time by some margin. Let's have a look back at the start, because this is where Larson lost out really after a great start. Got forced wide by Vittels. Vittels also lost out in that move. Larson, I think, should have joked the lap earlier. You're absolutely right, Jim. But that's so easy for us to stay standing here without any of the pressure, isn't it?
In America, we call it armchair quarterbacks. I don't know what you would call it here, but
I understand what you mean, absolutely. There's usually an armchair involved somewhere, isn't there?
Armchair involved, yes. So it was Otting with a great effort there for the top spot. Mads Larson battling back from 4th to finish up in 2nd. Vittels, probably disappointing for Vittels to finish in 3rd, and Lindqvist there in the 4th spot. All right, so we got another group of 4 on the grid. This is open 4-wheel drive. Omen, Leighton, Darbeck, and Bell. Bart Bell moving up from 2-wheel drive open. See how the transition works from a 2-wheel drive to all-wheel drive, because it's or a 4-wheel drive, completely different driving style.
Massively, yeah. I would argue that driving the 4-wheel drive car, from my experience at least, is much easier in some ways, even if the speed is high. Great start from Darbeck. He tries to go around the outside. Omen's going to have him covered though. Omen on a 4-wheel drive debut here. Oh! Well held, Tobias Darbeck, for not nose into the wall there on the inside. And now he's stuck behind the local driver in Danny Luton. Luckily, I would say, for Darbeck there, that Luton's jokered. If we see, Darbeck hasn't, so he'll want that free air. No disrespect at all to Luton, but Darbeck is got eyes on a big career in Rallycross, and Luton's doing this as a hobby, which is absolutely fair enough. Omen, though, fending off the pressure from Bart Bell at the front of the order. Omen was a regular in the Swedish rounds of Rallyx in the open 2-wheel drive category and has stepped up this year. Bart Bell looks to the inside into turn 2 and has got the move done. Great move there from Bart Bell, who's making his maiden fully competitive outing in that car here this weekend. That's the car Otting drove last year.
We said that one into the sand trap.
Yeah, as we was discussing on the track walk, that ain't coming out of there. Darbeck's all over the shop here. I was talking to him earlier. He had a gearbox problem, as I said, in the first 3 practice sessions. So it took them until Q1 to fix it, and then he had to learn the track in Q1. So that was a big ask for him, and he lost a bit of time with some upshift issues, but they're all solved now. I wonder if Omen's got a problem here, because his car looks very oversteery, doesn't it?
Yeah, look at that. Look at, even into that corner, you can see kind of a bit of a bobble. So Bell's going to have to take the joker. I think he's got a big enough gap over Omen to retain the position. So there's Bell to the outside on the joker. Oh, look at that. Omen going to get a run. Not going to be enough, though. Bell going to slam the door.
Good spotting from whoever's on the radio for Bart Bell. Another lap to go, but you've got track position, and as I said in the open 2-wheel drive session, you really want to have that, especially with a wave yellow for the car that's off in the gravel, because that's another overtaking opportunity that's gone away.
And all drivers have taken the joker, so I mean, I guess if you wanted to take an extra joker, you could at this point, but I don't know why you would.
We've seen a few times where the joker's been quicker, notably at Loiac in France, and then it became disallowed to joker twice. You could here be futile, wouldn't it? But each to their own.
All right, so Bell gonna bring it back. So the question is, can Bell transition from a 2-wheel drive to a 4-wheel drive? The answer is yes.
A big part of running this event is Bart Bell here at the Euro Circuit, and clearly he's delighted to have a home heat race win, and that's the sort of stuff that gets you up in the morning as a competitor, isn't it? The prospect of winning a heat race at a big international event on your home circuit is stuff that, you know, small boys' dreams are made of, isn't it? And yeah. I'm sure he'll enjoy that moment.
Especially in front of the home crowd. Probably got a lot of family and friends here, and a little bit of celebrating, I think, later on. A lot more racing yet to come here. We're just getting started in Valkenswaard. That is our results for open 4-wheel drive. Bart Bell on top, Omen, Darbeck, and Leighton, who ended up in the sand there, not being able to finish.
Zirner auf der Bahn Nummer 1, Navi Grasen auf der Bahn Nummer 2, auf der Bahn Nummer 3 Kaspar Jansson und Lukas Andersson. Zweimal Schweden, einmal Estland, einmal die Niederlande.
En voor de volgende race hebben we Robert Sirna. Ook van het OMC-team is daar Robert Sirna. En naast hem Mervin Klaassen, die al zeer goed deed deze voormiddag. We kijken er naar uit hoe dat hij nu gaat presteren. En naast hem zijn er nog twee sterke Zweden. Casper Jansson en Lucas Andersson onderweg. Beaver, daar gaan we natuurlijk even wachten op de opruimingswerken van de Skoda-Fabia van Van Duinen.
So it looks like Leighton is going to be hauled off. Hopefully we see him back. We've got another group here, open four-wheel drive, race number 2. Sirna, Klaassen, Janssen, and Anderson.
Sirna stepping up from Crosscar for this year with in a collaboration between Pace Motorsport and Olsberg's MSE. Klaassen, event sponsor here, making his four-wheel drive debut, last-minute entry. Casper Janssen needs no introduction to regular Rallyx fans. Who's wildly fast, and Lucas Andersson, who's stepping up from Supercar Lights for this season.
Yeah, and Janssen, 2025, FC2 champ, I believe. They are off and going here. This is going to be a very, very fast race.
Great experience there from Janssen to bail out of the throttle early. Anderson gets run wide into the gravel, keeps the toe in, drags the car straight, but Janssen bailed very early there in the first corner. Waited for it to unfold and then tucked inside Anderson on the exit. I would imagine that Janssen will joker this time around if neither of the front two do, and indeed he does. Casper Janssen looking for that free air. Lucas Andersson has gone with the top two, the two newcomers to four-wheel drive rallycross. There is Andersson already right on the tail of Robert Sirna. Andersson did the final round of the Swedish Championship in Arvika last August as his FC2 debut. Raced a Ford Fiesta Supercar in the European Championship round at Julius as well, so he's got good experience in these types of cars now, and he's super, super quick, is Lucas Andersson.
Look how fast Casper Janssen made the gap back up. Already took the joker, got it done, and now he's already back up and grouped in with the field.
Robert Sirna into the joker. Returns in fourth spot. Klaassen, I have to say though, Jim, is doing a great job here as there's some young whippersnappers who are wildly quick in this one, and I don't think you can tar Klaassen with that brush, but he's doing a brilliant job, having done a little bit of testing here a few weeks ago in the car, but it was a super last minute decision. Oh, and it's a mistake from Lucas Andersson, runs wide. They've all got stuck together at the hairpin. This is going to play massively into Klaassen's hands.
Klaassen now decides to take the joker with two.
Andersson's got going again. Is the track still going to be blocked? No, it's not. Casper Janssen gets going. Robert Sirna is also going to get going, so we're not going to be held up. Janssen's definitely got some broken suspension there. The car was crabbing as he drove away up front, but Klaassen has got an enormous lead now into the final tour at his home circuit. Much like Bart Bell was celebrating, it's going to be another home win. Oh, and Lucas Andersson's got broken rear suspension as well.
They're going to have a lot of work in the paddock after. Oh, look at that. Almost back into the sand trap there as Klaassen just running away with it.
Klaassen into the joker for the final time.
Look at that right rear, like you had said, broken suspension. Just trying to get the car around at this point. Score as many points as possible.
So Andersson got over-rotated. I'm looking forward to seeing that on the replay. He got over-rotated into the hairpin, and I guess he got collected by Casper Janssen. Klaassen takes the win.
Oh, that is tough. Without that wheel spinning, you're just dragging suspension components and everything's grinding on the tarmac. Look at that, big drift and another bump.
That is totally, that's unnecessary, isn't it? Because they're both already wounded over the line. Sirna using all of the four-wheel drive traction to drag that FC2 out of the gravel, but yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it, over the line? Let's see what we see in the replays.
Well, this one was full of action.
So this is what I was talking about, Janssen bailing early. Like, he's come out of the throttle to look to the inside. Lucas Andersson tried hanging it around the outside of Klaassen, just into the gravel, but you carry enough momentum there. Janssen got a bit sideways as well in avoidance. Now, do we see the incident later on? So Anderson's got over-rotated. He's taken a big bang in the side there from Casper Janssen, who in fairness did his best to get the car up the inside, but you're just all that momentum.
It's hard, and there was nowhere to go. And there's a bump there at the end that was Sirna into the sand.
That was just clumsy, really, wasn't it, in the final corner when at least Anderson's car is wounded. But I get it, you're all driving for the best time possible.
So the way it shakes out in that one, it was Klaassen just running away with it. Anderson in second, Sirna third, and Casper Janssen in fourth. Tough race for Casper Janssen. We
did the fastest lap, though, of any of the drivers in there on a 2:38.3, so clearly has good pace. Klaassen, though, top of the order after the first two races in open four-wheel drive. And while some of the best rallycross drivers in the modern era are in this next race, it only takes a small bit of drama now for Klaassen to be right at the top as well. He's at least going to be his fifth best, isn't he? And let's see what happens in the next few minutes.
All right, so the next group up here, this is race 3, Q2, open four-wheel drive. Look at this, as he said, just some big names. A couple of Ericsson entries by Oliver and Kevin Eriksson. Great to see Kevin Eriksson back on the grid here in Rallyx. Nicholas Grunholm coming out and running. We spoke with his father, Marcus, earlier today. He's currently spotting for Nicholas, and Emil Nason there in the group as well. So this one ought to be very, very fast. Some of the best drivers, like you said, of the modern era in this one.
Ollie Eriksson was super quick last year, broke a rim actually in the chicane on the exit and got a puncture and was devastated. He had a terrible year, really, Oliver, last year. Just nothing went right for him at all. Kevin, back this weekend. Has he made any additions to the livery that we requested? Because they're pretty similar, aren't they, the two OMSE Rallyx machines.
Big jump from Kevin Eriksson on the outside. And look at that.
Leaves the door open for Nicholas Grunholm and Ollie Eriksson. Oh! Kevin Eriksson gets shoveled out wide by Nason on the inside. Ollie Eriksson leading this one out front. Hounded by Nicholas Grunholm, who runs wide.
Nason there, a little bump into Grunholm.
Great opportunistic move with Grunholm just a little bit wide on the way in. This is Grunholm into the Joker for the first time of asking. Finishes runner-up in the FIA World Rallycross Championship last year. Just lost out on the title to Johan Kristoffersen. Both Kristoffersen and Grunholm are previous Rallyx champions, as are Kevin and Ollie Eriksson as well. The pace in this one is high, and I have to say Nason on a open four-wheel drive debut is doing a great job to be living with these three drivers who are so experienced and so quick in the Eriksson brothers and Grunholm.
You know, a little intimidating once in a while line up with three of the best drivers in the world, but he's holding his own here, and currently in P2. Both Oliver and Nason going to have to take, Nason takes the Joker that time by, but Eriksson now, Oliver up front, going to have to take the Joker at some point. Still get a handful of laps remaining.
Currently top of the order is Bart Bell, actually, because Klaassen, I guess, was handed a penalty given where he is now in the standings, down in third overall. So these drivers all looking to better the time of Bart Bell. Fastest in this race so far, lap time wise, 37.7 for Kevin Eriksson.
Oh, look at that. It was
Grunholm repays the favour. Kevin Eriksson, sorry, gets up the inside of Nason as well in the background. Monstering that curve with no track limits on the left hand.
All right, so we're going to have one to go here, and Oliver Eriksson just checked.
The two near identical machines fighting over second place. They're both respectful drivers, Kevin and Nicholas, and their teammates, but at the same time, racing drivers, they've got a helmet on and they both want to achieve the best they can. So I'm sure if an opportunity presents itself, Kevin will be right there, all over the back of Grunholm.
Well, right now the story of the hour is the other Eriksson, Oliver, out front with a big lead over Grunholm in the second spot. Nobody with a Joker left to take. It's going to take a big mistake by Oliver Eriksson to give this one up. At the checkered flag, it is Oliver Eriksson.
Destroys the time of Bart Bell with a 2:37.4. Nicholas Gronholm does a 2:42.1. That's good enough for second overall. But Kevin Eriksson doesn't beat the time of Bell. So the order at the end of this one is going to be Ollie Eriksson, Nicholas Gronholm, Bart Bell. Great job from Bell, who's put so much effort into putting this event on this weekend. Good showing there from Nason as well to mix it with the likes of Gronholm and Eriksson.
Yeah, there's another bumper there to add to the collection. This seems like they're collecting a lot of bumpers out here today. Euro Circuit, that was a little mistake there by the 68 Nicholas Gronholm, but able to battle back into the second spot. That brings us to our results for race number 3. Top honors, Nicholas Gronholm, Kevin Eriksson, and Emil. All right, so I guess we've run the gamut here. We've had everything from two-wheel drives to supercar lights, open fours. I mean, this track is really starting to come into its own.
Yeah, and we've got loads more to come, haven't we, with Crosscar Junior and Crosscar coming up very soon indeed. We will return in just a few minutes with Q3.
Op de YouTube-kanaal van Rallyx, Facebook, Instagram. Absoluut sterke social media zoals het hoort. Mooi in beeld gebracht. Hier zien we ook die droom voorbij knallen. Onder andere, maar ook leuke interviews. Mooie beelden geschoten heel het weekend lang. En dat gaat zo door die 10 wedstrijden.
Welcome back here to Valkenswaard here in the Netherlands. A lot of United States watchers starting to tune in. It's 8 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States, so welcome to the broadcast. Just in time to catch Q3 of all of our classes. Going to get things kicked off with Crosscar Junior, which lots of new names in this division that we haven't seen before, but really excited to get things rolling. Some of the young up-and-coming talent. One thing I really love about Rallyx is that Rallyx has a proper ladder system where you can work your way up through. A lot of motorsport, at least in the United States, that I'm familiar with, doesn't, and there's no real gateway to the top. And I think, Hal, one of the things I really appreciate about Rallyx is there is that gateway, starting with Crosscar Junior. You can just work your way up through the divisions.
Absolutely, and you can start super young as well, can't you? So we've seen some drivers of 11 years old in this category, because you start in the year in which you have your birthday, which is different to some categories. So yeah, brilliant that you can start so young and you can gain all this experience. I didn't start driving at all until I was 18, so imagine getting 6 years under your belt before that, in what ostensibly cars rather than karts.
All right, we're off and running. Van Gorp, Laporte, and Mertens here. Looks like a 95 Laporte is going to be up front. Big gap already through turn number one. That's Per Eklund's corner.
Laporte's had a tricky day so far. Black flag in the first qualifier for some contact that race director Reiners Knitters felt was avoidable. And then a DNF in Q2. So now desperately needs a time from Q3 to qualify for the semi-finals.
Van Gorp in the 88 already taking the joker early. Lapati with a big lead so far.
Finland is the place to find young talent often, isn't it? If you want to win, hire a Finn is the age-old rally analogy, and
you know, it's worked in their favor quite a bit.
It has indeed, especially when it comes to loose surface driving. Even getting to most of the circuits in Finland, you end up on a gravel road at some point, so they're well used to sliding around. They've actually watered the track quite a lot here, haven't they?
Yeah,
more than I perhaps expected between the two runs. Not a lot of time, so great work from the Euro Circuit team.
No, there's not a lot you can do in 8-10 minutes, but they sure have put in a lot of work here. As now we've had both Van Gorp and Mertens take their joker. So Lapati with a big, big lead. 2 to go. I could see Lapati taking it on this lap instead of the final lap because there's such a big gap back to second place.
Van Gorp has gone fastest of, or had gone fastest of anyone in Sector 1 until the last time around when Lapati has bettered that again. Lapati with the best lap so far for 44.6.
So Lapati has taken the joker, so all 3 drivers have taken the joker in this one. So running order, Lapati, Van Gorp, and Mertens. And bar incident, looks like Lapati's just going to run away with this one. I mean, just right from the drop of the green flag all the way to the first corner. Already it's stretched out maybe 7-8 car lengths.
Massive gap now, isn't it? 7 seconds back to second. Another 7 seconds back to third. So some real pace differential in this. And as I said in Q2, for those who are watching the Rally Extreme at that stage, these early races are quite often mixed up in that drivers with mixed pace end up earlier on in the running if you've had problems like Lapati has only finished 1 race, and that will mean that a semi-final start is possible.
Here's a question for you. We'll get into, well, we'll talk about it in a second. I got a question, but it's going to take a longer answer, and I know we've got some stuff coming up. So we'll prime the pump for the next Crosscar Junior heat here.
Can you give me a heads up in case I get the answer wrong?
It's about the weather.
Oh, I can answer. I'm British. I can answer that all day long. We look back at the highlight. There were not really many highlights from that, were there? Because it was fairly processional, and there's confirmation of the result. Lapati finally finishes a qualifying race today in first position.
Again, Gorp, Mertens there with your 3. So we're going to have some more Crosscar Juniors on the grid here. Jarno van Glabeek, Mirko Sinks, Ramakers, and Antia.
Antilla on the outside was
so this is my American because I'm from the Southwest. So in Spanish you would pronounce that Antilla. So it's Antilla here.
Yeah, not claiming to be 100% correct either.
No, I'm asking because this is why I love having people from different countries on the broadcast, because we pronounce things differently.
The L's would be more pronounced in Finnish for sure, but I don't claim to be eloquent in Finnish either, I must say. Great start though from the driver in question, Alex Antila on the outside. Comes to the inside, great awareness, and you see that so often, Jim, in this junior cross car category. The spatial awareness of these young drivers is really something that I always feel the other categories could do with learning from. You very rarely see a junior cross car driver trip over each other in that close racing. No spotters in this class, you've got to be super aware, and
just coming a little bit too inside, kind of ran it up on the tire barrier there, just missed the concrete barricade, which was thankful. I'd much rather hit the tires than the barricade.
That was Ramakers in the background, was it, I think? Yeah, looking at the timing screen, which will update as they cross the line to conclude the first lap. Antila has lost a little bit of time here in the battle for the lead. Antila's had some terrible luck. That's coming.
Oh, bottom. They're gonna go side by side here into this corner. Oh, look at that. Van Glabeek didn't want anything to do with it, just kind of conceded the position.
That's what I mean about the spatial awareness. Great run from Antila to get up the inside through the exit of 1 and just have the nose there into 2, and was given the racing room and We need to see more of that generally, I think, because we don't need people falling over each other all the time. I'm all for a good hard race, don't get me wrong, and we all love a bit of action, but when drivers are watching how they ought to perform, Junior Crosscar is a good place to make those observations.
But here's my weather question from earlier. So
we've only got 2 laps to go. So
so no, about conditions on the track. I mean, this morning was very cold. We were in jackets. You and I have now both pulled our jackets off because it's heating up. How is that going to change the track conditions racing we're going to have this afternoon, going from cold to a little bit warmer weather?
Well, it's twofold, or it could even be threefold if you chose it to be. And we talk about how engines work in a colder air density, but ultimately, the loose is going to dry out much quicker. It's going to become less wet and slippery. That can bring the times down, but it can also unbind the loose again. And rallycross tracks go through this funny transition sometimes where when they're full wet, they've actually got more grip than when they're partially wet. So full dry, full wet, you sort of know what you're dealing with. That greasy phase where it's neither wet nor dry is really unpleasant. If it rains, what I'm sure some of the events you come to this year, it'll rain and then it'll start drying, and that phase where it hasn't quite dried enough yet is always really interesting. But for sure, the sun's beating down here on the Euro circuit now. That water they've put down at lunchtime, you can really see it starting to evaporate and dry up. So I would say, as they fight hard for the lead up front in this one, yeah, you really want the sun to stay out as a driver for a little bit longer and bring the track temperatures up. Of course, the tyres work that bit better as well, the Nova tyres, when the temperature's up and they can move around a lot more and get more tyre temperature.
All right, so it is going to be Antilla there at the line. It's going to be, we had a battle there from Van Glevik and Miro Sinks. Going to bring us to our recap here. We see them coming through this tight corner. Just getting up into the tires there. That was a 319 of Ramaker's. Nice pass up the inside by Antilla. Little contact there. Brings us to our results. It was Alex Antilla with top honors after that pass, and Jono Van Glevik there in the second spot, making a nice run there towards the end in the number 54. All right, we got some more Crosscar Juniors. This is race number 3, Q3. Jari Huka, fastest so far on the day. Tovio, Klaassen, Iscateri. One to watch, that number 47 all the way on the inside though. Jari Huka, whoa, bad start for Jari Huka.
We saw a bad start for Huka in the highlights of Q2 earlier on, didn't we? I wonder what's going on there with the Finnish machine.
Yeah, Jari Huka now going to have to battle from the third spot.
He's etc. at the back of the order. They've changed the livery on He's etc's car at the back with some more red this year. I don't know if that's really helped my recognition of it. Bit of battling at the hairpin. That's Toivio, new Finnish driver to the series this year.
All right, so going through that big bank corner. Going to shoot him down here into the front stretch. Nice and tight around that chicane. Through Per Eklund's corner. So Klaassen leading, Tovio and Huka there in the third spot. Iscateri did take the Joker on the first lap, so they're going to have that one done. See if anybody takes a Joker this time by. I don't see any of the top 3 taking it, but could be wrong.
Klaassen made his Crosscar Junior debut at this event last year. Son of Klaassen from Open 4-wheel drive, and is really making hay in the Belgian and Dutch championships, doing a great job at the moment, and clearly has sights set on bigger things. Mervyn Klaassen, of course, in Open 4-wheel drive, and Pim Klaassen here leading this Junior Crosscar race from the front.
Well, I know Pim last year at this track, I think finished 8th and 8th to finish 8th overall, but Looks like learned quite a bit this last season, and a little bit stronger effort this year.
Yeah, like track knowledge will definitely help as well here. There's not many tracks in Belgium and Holland, so you tend to come to them quite a lot. Hukar sinks it up the inside, bit of a
Push him out
nudge.
into the sand. Oh, you see the car just drop into the sand, goes off that, and I mean it was just dropped. It's like quicksand almost. Whoa, we got it. 47. That was Hookah. There, it looked like clipped that inside coming out of it. There's those rumble strips there. Kind of tossed the car sideways. Saw a little dust kick up. Don't quite know what happened there.
Ran that bit deep, stuck the wheel in, and these cars are so light that they just get flicked up in the air. Loads of understeer for Hukar there, and sometimes you've really got to get the chassis moving around underneath you, because if you turn in, you've got a load of understeer. You've just got no way of solving that without the power to the rear. Klaassen, though, takes the victory.
Hookah going to stay in the second spot. Iscatre there in the third, and Tovio not finishing, ended up in the sand trap as we saw.
Hukar with the fastest time, lap time wise, so had good pace, but just had a bit of an erratic run, didn't he, the young Finn? Jere Hukar's been a young Finn for years, it feels like, in Rallyx, but it shows just how young they start.
That's the thing, you get a Finn and they be 20, 21 years old, they're at the top of the world.
Yeah.
Here's when Tovio ended up in the sand. Tough break. There's an inside clip. Looked like just, like you said, came in a little too hot and kind of actually ran over the top of the rumble strips into the sand. But Pim Klaassen, top of the field here in this one. Jere Hookah had a bad start, battling back to finish up in the second spot.
And with that, we'll have to see how the intermediate unfolds at the end of Crosscar Junior, because that could well have put Pim Klaassen right near the front. We move on to Crosscar.
All right, so we got Placheta, Timmermans, Svedland, and Bex.
To the inside of the Paddock bocht, the Paddock corner in the second qualifying heat in the first group. That's why we didn't saw him after he was leading the whole field for 3 laps, but he bumped into the barrier.
Gonna go green here for 4 laps.
Stop the car over there. That was the fact that we had the problem where to see him, we didn't see him due to the fact he was inside and not outside. So now we know that's why he is here in the slowest one of the qualifying heat, number 2.
En dan ook snel even meegeven bij de Crosscar Juniors.
Netherlands flag has waved. It means we are getting ready to go racing here. This is Crosscar. Race number 1 of this third heat.
Svedland is with the advantage into the first corner. The Swede on his maiden Crosscar outing. Oh, you can see the cars in the background just running into the looser section of the tarmac on the inside. Oh, wheelie there. Just clipping the inside, gets away with it though.
Lucky he didn't rip that right front corner off. That was a hard hit.
Placheta, I think that was, in the TN11.
All right, so we're going to go up front with Svedland. Oh, pushing a little wide there in the back.
Svedland flying here. It's gone from the fully black Crosscar last year, switched chassis to a speed car wonder. Fully white livery this year with the JC squad. Dean Beck's running second here. Son of Christoph Beck's of open two-wheel drive Supernational fame. Beck's made his Crosscar debut here this weekend, but a lot of experience in Supernational. Quite relatable in that both cars have rear-driven axles, but at the same time, the weight is the big thing, isn't it? In a normal saloon car, you've got to be much more aggressive in a cross car to get the rotation done. They're quicker as well, aren't they? You regularly see the cars that are challenging the open four-wheel drives, the supercars, the FC2s for overall lap time are the cross cars. So there's a lot going on. They're busy things.
I That's one thing I find interesting about Crosscar, because driving a lot of two-wheel drive race cars myself, it's all about weight transfer and getting that weight transfer. When you don't have as much weight in a Crosscar, you really got to initiate hard to get that transfer.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you've got to get it done on the entry, because as we saw in Junior there, if you go in straight and get a bundle of understeer, you just can't solve it until later in the corner. You just hemorrhage time. So you'll see a lot of the drivers, certainly later on in this session within Crosscar, get a lot of initiation, as you'd call it in drifting, wouldn't you, to get the rear of the car moving around to point the nose where you want it to go.
All right, so we're going to see if we got a pass being set up here, but meanwhile up front, Svetlin just running away with this one. So making the jump from Crosscar Junior to Crosscar this season, obviously working out for him if this heat is any question. As the checkered flies, will be Svetlin with the top spot. Going to be Timmermans in the second spot, Bex, and then Placheta in the final spot. Get some highlights here of this race. Bex on the outside early.
Timmermans doing a good job, to be fair. He's come from autocross, so similar discipline, but lots more loose surface in autocross here in Europe. Has bought the Ligier machine. And yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, as we saw in that clip, though, Placheta, he was the one that went up and over the tire and then dropped all the way back, and I wonder if there might be some mechanical damage in just trying to finish out that heat.
Sometimes you can just adjust the geometry a little bit, knock the toe out a bit, and it really affects how the car handles, especially in big commitment corners like the chicane, the first corner. If your front geometry is out a little bit, it can really upset the balance of the car.
All right, this is going to be race 2, Q3. Crosscar. Lasik, Hoeka, Van Grieken, Widglin. Oh, we had a jump there. Oh, maybe not triggered it. We had a jump, but it maybe didn't go far enough to trigger. So I know the sensors are what, set at 10, 12 centimeters, something like that?
Oh, in contact, and a roll in the first corner as well. That is...
I couldn't tell.
Lasak, I think, who's gone over. Is it? No, don't think
we got
so.
red flag.
Understandably so. So if it was a jump and then a roll, then that's spectacular.
Yeah, but what is their sensor? Because you could see a car edge forward and jump, but if they don't cross at him, it's like an imaginary line, right? If they don't.
Great explanation. Yeah, it is it's a laser beam or whatever you want to call it. If the car's back from it, then obviously that's you're not necessarily going to trigger it if you've already moved.
Yeah, there was a jump, and obviously didn't trigger anything. We went green, and then.
So it was Vlasak that rolled in it in the 14.
Yeah.
Got hooked up with Hoeka, and I said to you yesterday on our track walk, Jim, it's just the rolls here are so soft. That car will be absolutely fine because it's such deep sand that it might need a bit of superficial work, but it's very different to rolling hard on a tarmac corner. So I think really unlucky. You also see that quite often, don't you? For those that haven't been in a car like that as well, if you slide into something sideways and dig in. It's a horrible feeling as a driver, isn't it? You just know it's going over.
You know, it looked like to me, I mean, they got their tires connected there possibly with these open wheel cars, and they couldn't break free.
So there are guards around down the sides, but for sure they're still open wheel, and you can get hooked up. But the chassis are designed to hopefully avoid that. It's inevitable sometimes.
Yeah, it happens. It was a racing incident, but we're going to get things cleaned up and go back here to these qualifiers at Crosscar. But just a beautiful afternoon. I mean, race weekend here. I know, what are we on the eve of King's? Well, I guess tomorrow night is King's night, I've been told, and then you've got Monday is King's day. So
that seems very Dutch to have. I mean, it must be a national holiday on Monday. I would assume.
Yeah, Monday's the national holiday, but it seems like everybody I've talked to, this is just kind of it's a 3-day celebration because it's on Monday now, so it's like King's weekend.
Yeah. I'm up for that. I'm usually working, to be honest, but
you gotta. I have no problem stretching a holiday into 3 days. So. Look, we got the fans.
People at home think I'm always on holiday when I'm at Rallycross. I mean, it is. Rallycross is the best sport in the world, so it's always a pleasure.
Best sport in the world, and we actually get to do it for a living, so it's
Very lucky indeed, yes.
Fans really starting to turn out here this weekend.
Tomorrow's always busier on in these traditional venues because I think it's the age-old thing, isn't it? These double-header scenarios are relatively new, pretty much post-COVID really here in Europe. So Sunday has always been historically the day where people turn out.
And I think especially being that Monday's a national holiday, they can come and have a few extra pints and still not have to worry about going to work.
Yeah, get the atmosphere going. Brilliant.
That's a great way to start off the holiday, I think, is with some rallycross here in Valkenswaard.
Yeah. And it's fantastic, isn't it? Lovely atmosphere in the paddock. We had an autograph session just behind us a little bit earlier on, which
we had a band
packed. Yeah,
great band actually.
I was nearly dancing. Honestly, not.
I did see a few people from the Rallyx camp out there dancing.
Yeah.
So.
Maria Eriksson, the most multifaceted person in the history of time, was there dancing with her grandchildren whilst cooking the team lunch, repairing an FC2, looking after us. It's relentless, isn't it?
Yeah. She is definitely a hard worker in this paddock, that's for sure. So. But yeah, I mean, so far, obviously, we're getting things cleaned up, but we're knee-deep in the qualifiers. Those are going to wrap up, and then we've got semifinals and finals, and I know that's what everybody signs up to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. The semis and finals will now, for regular viewers, be in a separate broadcast. So after the end of this session, we'll go off-air, and you'll have to join a new stream to watch the semis and finals to try and make that part of the weekend a bit more condensed. And I'm really looking forward to it. You know, the qualifiers are always a bit hit and miss because you can always gain back or you don't necessarily lose out so much when you've got 3 opportunities. Semi-final time, you have to nail it, and final time, it's absolutely no holes barred. So it'll be fascinating to see this afternoon how all of this pace through qualifying plays out, and then how people execute in these knockout races.
All right, so we are going to have all 4. So we're going to restart this one. Race from previous, that is going to be rerun after this. So we're going to go those cars re-gridded. So we've got a new grid of 4 cars. The cars you just saw, that'll get shifted back to the next heat. So, or excuse me, the next race. So this one, we've got Van Hoof, Merstad, Try, and Escateri. Am I getting that one right? How is
Ease, etc.
Ease, etc. All right, there we go. Learning. I like it. Ease, etc.
It's also hard, isn't it, coming to Europe when all the names differ wildly between each country, and you've got like a bunch of Norwegians now, and then you'll have a bunch of Dutch in the next one, and yeah, it's tough. And this is a super quick race. Okay, we don't see much of Van Hoof in Rallyx, but Eek Merstad, Tree, and Ease, etc. right up there with the quickest all event winners. So lots of potential.
All right, so we are looking for a green flag. Looks like I got them on grid. You know, one thing that I've noticed, not necessarily in the cross car especially, but when we were looking at Supercar lights, open four-wheel drive, that left-hand lane seems like it's the faster spot to start. I mean, we saw Kevin Eriksson get the jump out of that 4th spot. There's been a few different drivers in that 4th spot be able to get the jump. So I don't know what it is about that lane, but it's something I've been watching as we move through these heats here, these qualifying heats. Sure revved up. Little contact there. Oof.
That was Tree that went to the inside. Vettel Tree bailed from the pack and went to the inside, then had a tiny bit of contact there with Ease, etc. Thomas Eek Merstad there got it done up front, got round the outside to take the lead from local driver Van Hoof. Ease, etc. into the Joker for the first time of asking.
I think that was a smart call sitting back there in the 4th spot to take the Joker. There's Van Hoof there.
Former Dutch champion Van Hoof has made some adaptations to the cross car for this season after showing some great pace last year, and clearly it's working running with these super fast drivers. Eek Merstad. I wonder if we can watch the race leader, please, Mr. Director, because this will give you a real insight, Jim, into these cross-car machines, because the way that drivers like Eek Merstad are just on top of the car, you can almost see how soft that they run the car and how much they sit it on the rear and get the rotation done in each of the corners.
It was Tree that took the Joker that time. And Merstad, I mean, one of the best in this division, champion last year.
look at our single input. We really would like to see that next time around. Yeah, it's just one big input and then you have to react to it. And I think a lot of crosscar drivers then struggle sometimes with going to a car which doesn't respond in quite the same way, because driving a car must be, well, it is a fairly laid-back affair compared to being in one of these tumble dryers. Hearing the gravel bounce off the barrier there through the middle part of the circuit. This is the race leader. I wonder if we'll see him through the chicane this time around. Hopefully we do. Look at that, a big input, a big lot of throttle as well, just to get the rear sat down on its haunches on the rear dampers and then driving through the chicane.
The car is so straight by the time he's through the corner. It's like he's just launched out of a cannon. I mean, just a great bit of driving technique there to watch.
Certainly in four-wheel drive rallycross and rear-wheel drive, is just being straight on the exit is so important. If you're sideways on the exit, you're just losing time. So getting as much of that job done on the way in is so important, so you can be wheel straight through the middle and then ideally driving directly out of the corner. Pete Merstad crosses the line. He's done the fastest lap of this race and he is fastest overall ahead of Carl Svedland by some 3 seconds.
Got the replay here. A little excitement in the first corner. Watch for the little bump. That's pretty much the only contact we saw the entire race. Ike Merstad got out front early. Pretty much his race the rest of the day. To that final big bank corner around the checker flag. Brings us to our results. Crosscar Q3, race 3 was Thomas Ike Merstad with the win. Van Hoof second, and Veltri there in the third spot. All right, so this is our rerun race. This is race 2. This was the one where we had the incident with the rollover. It looks like we have lost one of the entries in this one.
Vlasak who rolled, so I wonder if either the car was too badly damaged or whether that was considered the cause of the red flag. So I've got Rainis Nittis, the race director, in my ear saying he is allowed to restart and they're waiting for him.
I
what
love
brilliant
that
access we have here.
I love that we've got the race director in our ears. We say something and immediately Rainis, who, you know, quite the accomplished rallycross driver himself.
He was okay.
He was okay. So Hookah is now going to be, I guess, in the pole position. I guess we're going to leave that one open, but going to be in the second spot.
We're still waiting at the moment, but I wonder how long we have to wait. What's the cutoff, Rainis? Let me know. He's obviously busy dealing with something, but you can't wait forever, can you? But it is really fair to try and wait as long as possible. That thing will have been full of sand from the sand trap, so it's a great job from that team to get the car turned around.
All right, so we were going to have a 4-car grid here. Going to do a full restart on this one. That one was eventful through one corner. We had a jump start, we had a tangle, a crash, two into the sand. Let's hope we can get through uneventful this time. So we're a handful of seconds away from going green flag.
What a start from Hookah. We saw so many wheelies from Ricky the Kid Hookah in the past and just picked up the front wheels there a little bit away from the line, but got it absolutely hooked up. Made amends for being stuck in the gravel last time around. Vlasak sadly left on the grid, but has now got going as well there in the background.
Like a little different angle taken into that corner. All right, nobody taking the Joker that time. Look at that, the number 2, that is Hookah. Quite the gap here, going to come through the chicane. Van Wilgen, Greeken, and then Tim Vlasic. Through Per Elklin's corner. We hit that transition here into the gravel.
Vlasak is all about trying to just salvage a good time from this after the roll earlier on and then the slow start here, and that's going to help out a little bit, isn't it? As
Van Grieken.
Van Grieken goes for a spin. Van Grieken, another of the drivers being coached by Koba Powles this weekend. Shame for him. Yeah. Hukar, though, flying up front. Not quite as aggressive with the inputs as Thomas Merstad was in the last one.
That was just a thing of beauty for Merstad to watch the hands and the movement.
Lap time wise, 38.6 for Hukar is a fair bit slower than Nick Merstad was. Into the Joker with a couple of laps to go. Very wise with the gap just to maintain the track position. This is going to be close at the merge. Vlasak gains a position back, so this is a really good damage limitation outing.
Yeah. Van Wijlen there, back to the third spot. It is Hukar first, Vlasak in the second spot. Van Grieken there in the final spot. Get the nice drone flyover here. So go into this transition. You know, this corner right here, television doesn't do it justice how tight that corner is.
So classic, isn't it? The TV just flattens everything a little bit and takes some of the severity out of things. But that was I've only driven here in front wheel drive, but that corner was brilliant in the front wheel drive car. Oh, there's a spin there at the Joker split. Another spin. So I wonder if there's an issue there.
Van Wijlen.
As Hukar drives to the line and sets a time of 2:38.8, which is good enough for fourth overall. Thomas Merstad will win the session from Van Hoof and Svedlin. This was a bit of a messy one, even in the rerun, but we've got through it. And that brings us to the conclusion of Crosscar qualifying.
We got some highlight package here.
They all popped a bit of a wheelie, didn't they? And you need to get that back down pretty fast.
Up through that very tight corner, a little bit of an over rotation there. It was the 33 of Van Grieken. So come back through, Vlasak getting around, take that second spot. Oh, that's 105, Van Wijlen. It's not good when you're standing out of the car staring at it.
I've been there.
I have too, many times.
I'm sure Mark van Wijlen will be very, very sad and really, really angry about the fact that he didn't have a chance to finish this quali number 3. Jammer voor Mark van Wijlen. Hij heeft nog een halve ronde te gaan en desondanks DNF voor hem. Zoals gezegd, hier de reekzege voor Hukar, voor Vlasak en Van Grieken. Van de andere kant de tijd van Thomas Eekhoffstad. Onbedreigd de snelste. En dan komen de
All right, so we've got open two-wheel drive.
Met Michel Collin met de Toyota
on the line. This will be the final qualifying session. It's going to set up our semifinals. Open two-wheel drive, such a big grid. We're going to see a lot of cars sent home today.
3 semi-finals though, so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. There's always an opportunity in 3 semi-finals to make amends for a poor day. There's also all the potential to throw away a good day, isn't there, when there's 3 semi-finals, but we'll see how it plays out.
Well, it's interesting with the 3 semis as we get into it because you're taking that's a big jump there. That one's going to be called back. But I think
that happened yesterday. That was so big.
You know, when you have 3 semis, it gets interesting because normally in the semis you're taking 3 to the final, and with 3 then you're only taking 2. So I almost think sometimes it's not as good to have 3 semis as a driver because whenever you're in your heat or when you're semi-final, more people are going home.
Ebbs and flows, doesn't it? Because at the same time, while I agree with you, at the same time, you could qualify 18th and still make it to the final by having a good run through a semi or making good when someone else makes a mess of it. So someone will always be delighted and someone will always be unhappy, but isn't that motor racing in a nutshell?
Fair point, fair point. That's what keeps us coming back.
Yeah. I always describe my own endeavours as 90% heartbreak and 10% elation, and I think that's probably true for most people, isn't it?
Motor racing's the worst drug on the planet. You very rarely get that gratification, but here we are just burning money to continue to. Was that another jump? Either that was the best start I've seen all day, or that was a jump, but I think it was the best start we've seen all day. Wow. I believe that was Ertz there with a huge jump on the field. Christoph Beck's now wondering what happened.
A massive commitment as well to execute that, having already jumped the start once.
I mean, Beck's, who by and large has been very, very fast, Ertz got the better of him there.
Ertz's car built as a historic project, really, the last year or so, and has only just started testing it, so this is a first time out. So to be leading a driver like Christoph Beck's here at the Euro circuit, and he's going to have a good go at fighting back here as well, but really they've got very different objectives here. I know Ertz is here for a good time, and maybe doesn't quite have the technology or at least the experience of Christoph Beck's, and clearly that shows. But what a start, and what an opening lap. Great job.
Yeah, that was a great start, like you said, but a beautiful pass by Beck's through the chicane. I mean, just outdrove Ertz, and Ertz knew he was kind of hung out to dry and kind of gave him some room there.
That's the experience card playing massively, isn't it? When you know every inch of a circuit to know where to maximise those sorts of moves.
Yeah, absolutely. It was set up early. We see drastically different line for Beck's this time through because not having to make a pass. Ertz still hanging on in the second spot, though.
The car doesn't sound and doesn't work.
All right, so Beck's now into that very tight right-hander.
Look at that lead. That's what I mean about the quality. It's just, you can't take anything away from any of the other competitors, but Beck's is a driver who wants to win today. The other guys in this race potentially not.
When I'm seeing on my screen, Ertz may have to take 2 jokers. Yes, Ertz going to have to take 2 jokers. So they've got a penalty on the jump start, now has to do 2 jokers.
Yeah, that will be for the first jump start, yep.
All right, so everybody's got their jokers done. Ertz still going to have to take a second one.
Beck's lead, if you aren't counting it at home, is now 8.2 seconds.
Once he got around Ertz, it's just been game over for the rest of the field.
But that lap running second could prove critical when we see the faster races come when fighting for top spot. Really, Beck's will be praying that all the quick runners end up in battles and lose a little bit of time.
And I will give Ertz to this point had the start of the day. That was a beautiful start, like you said, especially after the jump, to be able to be that gutsy to make a jump. We're going to see this. Look at this, just
in a brand new build as well. You can tell it's brand new by how clean the wheels are. It looks absolutely stunning, doesn't it? The Escort.
Then we're going to have Beck's going to set this pass up around Ertz a couple corners early. Beautiful bit of racecraft. As you see, Beck's now just sliding in front right through the chicane. Textbook, just a beautiful pass there from Beck's to take home the victory. Christoph Beck's Open 2-wheel drive Q3 Race 1. Your winner, Ertz second, Koljan third. But as you said, I think it's going to be interesting to see Christoph Beck's as Open 2 continues to go, to see if that lap in second spot's going to cost him, because you know what I mean, lost some of that time that he could have been running away with the race.
Well, with 19 cars still to go, so a lot can happen yet.
All right, so we've got more Open 2 on the grid. Looks like we're a couple seconds away from going green. Oh, look, a little jump. Oh, another jump. Oh, we're going to restart him. That was the number 22, Van Holst, with a jump start. So going to back her up. We're going to get going again. Van Holst with just a slight jump, and then committed even more to the jump. So we're just going to back him up, which is going to be a short reset.
Sometimes
Well, quite often you can treat it as an extra tyre clean or tyre warm, depending how you consider that. What we'll often see, certainly in the finals, if someone jumps, everyone else will go. And that's just to get another tyre clean, heat cycle through the tyres. Always entertaining when someone decides to go many seconds after the initial jump. It's a bit frowned upon.
All right, so we're going to see how things work out here. Oh, look at that. Good start there for Van Holst in the 22, but spun a little bit those tires. Everybody else able to catch up and now dropping all the way to the back. So it looked like Van Holst there for a second had the lead as they drag raced out and dropping all the way to the back now. Tiptoeing through that interior corner.
Hulk getting all out of shape there again. We saw that earlier on, didn't we, in Q2?
Two of the drivers electing to take the Joker. One was Van Holst.
Tom Geenan lost that time earlier on in the traffic. And Tom Geenan's got an issue there in the background. See the car bunny hopping around, and it's gone off in the gravel. There was something seriously wrong with the Volvo in the background. Just saw it bouncing up and down, and that is well off into the sand.
Didn't even look like the car turned, just straight into the tire barrier.
Bouncing horribly, wasn't it? I wonder if something had happened where maybe the front tire had gone underneath, or big suspension issue. Regardless, that's not coming out of there in a hurry. The Hulk, meanwhile, 46.6 lap time is. You need a calendar to look at the gap between that.
Yeah, the Hulk doing
and
a great
Bex.
job.
Now on a 42.9 is somewhere considerably cleaner and closer to the time of Bex, but has a comfortable lead here, 4.2.
That's
still to Joker. We'll
definitely a livery we can spot too.
Absolutely, yeah. And we should get a good idea here on Joker Delta if it's clean. It was 4.2 last time.
Smart use of the Joker there.
Maintaining track position.
Has to fight against Ludo Hermans, who's doing really well.
Out of the final corner, the gap is 0.3 of a second. The Joker Delta is definitely not 4 seconds, so obviously the Hulk has lost a bit of time during that race, during that lap as well, to have fallen right into the clutches of Hermans. In the
Hermans pushing
Ford
on this
Escort.
last lap.
Hermans has been a regular racing in the UK with that car in the last decade or so. Looking to the inside, there isn't a way through there on the inside unless you're going to force the issue. The Hulk again gets sideways there, mid-corner, really struggling with that left-hander, but if you can protect the inside here, you're unlikely to get past in the run to the line.
Hulk doing a great job of protecting there, that inside line. With the Hulk at the finish line, Herman's going to have to settle for second. Van Holst
0.2 the gap at the end.
Here's that early jump. Reason for 2 Jokers there for Van Holst. And the Hulk.
Okay, so that's the issue, isn't it? Hulk shut the door there on Tom Geenan. I must have been looking at the timing screen or something when that happened. And something catastrophic has failed on the front of the car. It was hopping up and down. He hasn't been able to get it turned in and gone straight on. So I would say that's definitely a legacy of that contact in the first corner and being pushed into the wall. But I would also still a racing incident. It's, I don't know, maybe
they just kind of rubbed each other a little bit.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because you also can't assume that the car on the inside is going to disappear. So you do need to give the racing room. Thank goodness I'm not the one having to make those decisions, really.
So results, yes, it was a Hulk on top here in race number 2, Q3, open 2-wheel drive. And it was Hermans, Van Holst, and then Geenan, who obviously we saw in the sand there. We're going to be working at getting Van Geenan out. Looks like they do have him out. A little bit of cleanup to some of the barricades. Been an action-packed morning.
So the car can be bought by everybody who wants to be quick in the open two-wheel drive, in the Rallyx, of course. Lane number 4 with Martijn van Olden with a not for sale BMW 1M. Lane number 3, Nick Neyens with the extreme quick Ford Escort. I really wonder how quick this car is. It's really to see Nick doing that well. Martijn van Olden, let me tell you know, Erik Lidman, the strong black BMW from Sweden, lane number 2, and Freek Hendricks, lane number 1 with his Ford Fiesta Mark 5.
Yeah, and having a chat during lunchtime with the team, and we were speaking about the Volvo mean machine with 585 horsepower. So Nick Mann said, yeah, I hope I have a bit more than half of it.
I hope so too, but it looks like Nick Neyens is doing well with the half of that one, because he's
Absolutely. That Ford Escort with the Beaver engine is doing a very good job. But absolutely well. Lippmann running very fast. But Martijn van Olden was ontzettend good on the race. Take
a look on the rear wing of Nick Neyens Ford Escort. It looks a bit like when it's a rear wing of a Peugeot 206 or something like that, because they have this kind of flaps in the middle of the rear wing. So it looks a bit like the rear wing of a Peugeot. But in the end of the day, as long as it works,
Nick Neyens zit op de weg hier dus al een beetje foto's als het ware voor het Ford Fiesta van Freek Hendricks in die mooie livery van Boulevard. En aan de andere kant, alles start met zijn Volvo S40. Maar we zullen zeggen met de backup te koop, zoals Martin het ook zei, met die Beamer Dirk Garveling.
Freek Hendricks.
All right, open 2, few seconds remaining, and we're going to go green flag racing. This one, Hendricks, Lidman, Neyens, Van Hove, Garvelink. 5 of them stacked in here. Lidman with a great jump there. Looks like going to lose a little bit of ground. Going to have to settle for second.
Lidman, the driver that got pushed out wide in Q2 earlier on at this very corner. Down here, that's Nick Neyens getting up the inside of Lidman again. He's getting pushed wide, and I think it was Neyens last time that was in the battle. Can't quite get it done this time, and Lidman doesn't lose out as badly.
Going to take some paint off the side of that car, rub it on the inside. Oh. One of the drivers elected to take the Joker there on the first lap. Going to get some space, try and battle back. Van Hove currently leading though. Lidman in the second spot. Neyens, Hendricks, Garvelink. Garvelink does have the Joker taken.
Oh, Neyens gets all out of shape on the exit of the first corner. Hendricks all over the back of him in the front-wheel drive Fiesta. Can't make the most of it. Neyens was super sideways there.
Almost looped it around. I thought the car was going to go around. Great save.
New rear spoiler on Neyens Ford Escort for this year. Looks like it's been rubbed off I'm going to say a Fiesta of some kind, Fiesta Supercar of some kind. Sort of Ford origin, I guess, in the loosest possible way. Van Hove, though, in the BMW, pushing hard up front.
2 laps to go. It is Van Hove and Lidman, both 1 and 2. Neither one of them taking the Joker yet, so they're going to be pulling the trigger on those one of these final 2 laps. See if Neyens can get back in it when they do pull the Joker.
Van Hove's BMW, I think, is the one with the Honda K20 turbo engine in it now, so plenty of power in there.
And Van Hove does take the Joker, and Lidman following him into the Joker, so 1 and 2 following each other into the Joker.
Not ideal strategy-wise. I think Lidman ideally would have stayed out and probably had time to change that up a bit to just get the clear air, but ultimately I don't think it's really changed much because they've both come comfortably out ahead of this great battle between the 2 Fords. For third, the Escort Mark II with Neyens rear-wheel drive and Hendricks in the Super 1600 looking Fiesta, runs that bit wide, trying to clips the wall on the inside as well, trying to maximise every millimetre of the circuit here at the Euro Circuit to get the most out of that front-wheel drive machine. throwing gears at it out of the hairpin. This is a close battle.
It's the last step, so I don't think that something else would happen.
Fastest lap of the race for Hendricks on a 41.3. Still nowhere near the time of Beck's on lap time. And the overall time, Van Hove ends the race on a 2:51.1. And Beck's had done a 2:44.7. So that time of Beck's is looking pretty ominous at the moment.
Van Hove got out front early. Never really looked back. There's that incident there with Nians there, rubbing the side.
Nians was well stuck in for the entire race there. So a good bit of rallycross battling. I'm all for a bit of door handling. When you start firing each other off, it gets a bit different, doesn't it? But that was a great battle.
You go, dropping a few tires there, making the corner a little bit wider. You told me yesterday that was going to happen in that corner, and you were right.
First time for everything.
Van Hove walking away with top honors in this one. Lidman, Nians there in your top three. Then it was Hendricks and Garvelink there, rounding out your 5-car field as we are still two-wheel drive racing. This is Q3 race number 4. We got McGarry, Wallach, Alginci. I'm working on that one. I'll work on that one. Thielen and Verkugen. But McGarry, I mean, very, very fast in the last qualifying session.
Was quick in practice as well. Great start there from McGarry on the inside. Former multiple Irish champion in the two-wheel drive category in Ireland. Put loads of effort into this car. Again for this season, massive rebuild. It's a horrible addiction, isn't it, this rallycross thing, and rebuilding cars that seemed fine in the first place is a regular hurdle to overcome for those that are addicted. Wallach into the Joker this time around is going to follow in for Kerningen. Oh, and lost a bit of time there as well. Wallach goes to the outside through the long right-hander towards the end of the lap. I don't think it's going to work around there for the London-based pole. No, it doesn't in the loose stuff.
All right, so it is McGarry out front and making his way through the chicane.
A problem, though, for Johnny Verkerningen. Out of the final corner, lost a lot of pace. I think Wallach got past him as well. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, both of them have taken their Joker in the 4th and 5th spot. McGarry, you know, looking at last year's results, didn't have really the greatest of results here at Valkenswaard.
No, he had a shocking weekend actually here last year. It just didn't work out for him at all.
I'm looking at a 12 and an 8th last year. I'm going, he's very strong today, so I don't know what happened last year, but not good results. So.
Well, the car is completely different now. Powertrain-wise, it's done a lot with the cooling. There's a big effort from a number of people in Ireland to get this thing sorted. He was racing in a two-car team with Derek Tohill last year. Now it's more of a single concerted effort, and I think we'll see McGarry a few times this season. He clearly came here for a pre-season test a few weeks ago on the quiet, and that sort of thing really pays off, doesn't it? That little bit of track knowledge, bit of work on the setup. It means you're not entering free practice first thing on the Saturday morning needing to work out where your baseline is. Once you've got your head around silly things like where the circuit goes, as you well know, but then also where you're going to start at with your suspension settings. Yes, you always make refinements, but when you go somewhere once a year, it's very difficult in that first phase of the weekend to get up to speed. So a small test in advance is so beneficial. Wallach with the fastest lap of the race on a 41.0 in the background. Now we're getting nearer to the ultimate pace, but still not troubling Beck's time. I had a quick chat with Wallach, who goes wide into the hairpin to try and get around the outside into the wall. Oh, and he's spun it as well. Desperate to get into the semi-finals today is Wallach and get a good grid position, see where he can end up, but appreciates that it's almost nigh impossible to trouble the local stars here.
You know, in Wallach's defense, if you're in the back, it's worth making the move, because worst case, you're going to stay in the back.
But worst case is you go off and lose a load of time. So it is, yeah, you're right, but it's still a high risk, isn't it? 2:51.1 for McGarry is going to put him 2:51.26. Oh, by 400ths, he's going to lose out on second overall in the order, but that's a strong run from Pete.
Yeah, so early on it was the 9 of Verkugen and McGarry. shot there of the 60 of Wallach. Here's Wallach's big move to the outside and just clip the rear on that outside of the corner, turned him around sideways. And that was it. But today, it's all the 151. Peter McGarry, great effort there.
You need some luck as well in this game, and when you're having a bad weekend, it just goes on and on and on, and sometimes you just need a bit of clear air to show what you can do. And now we have the fastest drivers from Q2, who in fairness are right up with the fastest drivers in the entire open two-wheel drive field.
Yeah. Mayonix, Johansson, Verhoeven, Volders, Van Lommel. This was a very fast race last time. Johansson and Mayonix having a great run. And then on the outside, the 213, Van Lommel.
Good start from Victor Johansson in the initial phase, but Mayonix has got back up the inside. Volders looks to the inside of the reigning Rallyx Open two-wheel drive champion, can't get the job done. Mayonix out front. Mayonix currently top of the intermediate classification, and really Victor Johansson needs Mayonix to have a bit of a shocker here if he's got any hope of getting to the top of the order, given that there's a 11 point advantage for Mayonix in the standings. See the drone shadow on the ground. They carry quite some pace, the drones here.
Drone pilots, that's an art form of its own.
Absolutely.
All right, so Mayonix out front, being chased by Johansson. Both still needing to take their joker. Volders and Van Lommel in the mix. Really, all four. This joker's going to be really crucial in this one. Our top four are very close together still.
So interesting. So often in a rallycross race here, if you get the 5 fastest drivers together, it's actually can be fairly static in terms of action, because not only is the pace all very similar, but they're also super aware that you don't want to mess up at this stage. You want a nice clean run. You don't want to cost yourself loads of time with a silly mistake or an over-optimistic lunge. So
just get to the semis.
Yeah, it's saving it for another day, and that other day will come today, I think, because the semi and final will be, well, they'll all then be split up in the semis across 3, but come the final, hopefully all the fast drivers will be together and they've got their elbows out.
Oh, that is Volders there taking the joker. No, I completely agree with you. You know, and like you said, we're at the top of the heap here. These are some of the best drivers in the world in open two-wheel drive. And we're seeing it with these lap times. Mayonix currently leading. Got a battle back here. This is for the final spot, Van Lommel and Verhoeven.
So Mayonix really showing what he's got in the Me Machine. 39.1 last time around. Better's the best time of Beck's. He's the first driver to go quicker than Beck's. Everyone else in this race is in the 40s on best lap time.
So both our leaders going to take the joker. It's their last chance to do it. Well, look at that. Taking a cone down. That is Victor Johansson. Almost contact. Has to bail out of the gas. Volders going to get around him for that second spot. Wow, that was close.
Scruffy joker there from Johansson. And it's close between Johansson, Verhoeven and Volders in the intermediate classification for second overall. So we'll have to see where that plays out. So Mayonix 2:42.5 goes quickest. Volders on 2:45.6 will be third. Johansson on 2:46. A bit of live maths going on here. Fourth. Yeah, I think Johansson is going to be off. He may not have a pole position here for the semi-finals, because the points were so tight at the top of open two-wheel drive behind the runaway leader Mayonix.
And that is Mayonix with top honors. Volders with that pass on the last lap around Victor Johansson to take the second spot. What a beautiful pass that was. Van Lommel there in the 4th spot as well. That's going to wrap up open two-wheel drive, which is going to bring us to Supercar Lights. Darbeck, Jonas, JVD, Van Dassler there in the 3rd spot. All right, a few seconds to go before we drop the green flag. Oh, a little inch forward there. Jonas with the, looked like the jump.
Great start from Mats Jonas. But Darbeck's got it covered. Oh, JVD sinks it up the inside of Jonas in the first corner, pushes the German wide.
Jonas out into the sand trap, able to bring it back. Darbeck there. Going to cut them through. Going to see if anybody jumps out. Yes, Jonas going to take the Joker. Oh, actually, Jonas and Dassler, JVD and Jonas both taking the Joker. So now there's going to be a massive gap from Darbeck back to the rest of the field. All right, so Darbeck through the chicane.
Darbeck will be looking for a bit of good fortune after struggling in the opening 2 qualifiers.
Well, dropping a wheel there was Jonas. JVD looks like he's narrowed the gap there to Darbeck. This is going to be close, I think, when we finally do see Darbeck take the Joker. So be watching JVD in the second spot, the number 90.
Great local knowledge from JVD. Dutch Super National champion in the 2-litre category last year. Wasn't planning to race this year, but got a last-minute opportunity and fought hard to find the budget. Has been doing a bit of lights car driving with some driver tuition and stuff, so does have experience of the cars. Darbeck, for whatever reason, is just not switching it on today in the way I maybe expected.
So Darbeck does elect to take the Joker that time, so we're going to see how JVD comes through. Not going to be enough, so Darbeck is going to remain in the lead. JVD and then Jonas is going to be in the 3rd spot. So we're going to have 1 lap to go here. See if JVD can reel in Darbeck. I just don't know that he's going to have enough with 1 lap remaining. Through Per Eklund's corner.
Fastest lap of the race for JVD so far, 39.244.
JVD starting to put a little pressure on Darbeck.
Don't know if you've seen him out of the car yet, though, but Kevin Darbeck is one of the tallest people you've ever seen. Has to sort of fold himself in half to get inside a lights car. Definitely wouldn't have made a single-seater driver, that's for sure. As he exits the final corner, drives for the line. And the benchmark in Supercar lights is a 2:40.838. Great run as well from class debutants JVD and Jonas. They're impressing today.
All right, we're going to get a little replay here. Jonas got the jump on the field, but wasn't enough. Got hung out on the outside. Darbeck there taking the lead early. Jonas drops a wheel into the dirt. Darbeck taking the Joker here, which was enough to seal him the win and give him top honors. So it was Kevin Darbeck, Q3 Race 1 Supercar Lights top honors. JVD in the 2nd spot. Matt Jonas there in the 3rd spot. So we got another heat of Supercar Lights on the line. This is race number 2 of Q3. Otink, Larsen, Vittels, and Lindquist. Otink with a great run there in race number 2. Going to be doing double duty this weekend. Otink can get the jump. Great start by Otink. I think it's going to work into his favor. He's going to have the inside line going into Per Eklund's corner. No, gets pinched off.
Great start from Vittels, but had nowhere to go. Was just hung out to dry there, wary of turning in as well after that contact earlier on, no doubt. And Larsen, who was great off the line, wasn't he, in the previous session, again gets the job done. Otink looks to the inside, but Larsen carries that momentum nicely to the outside. When you're not under pressure in that corner, you can really maximise the exit. Lindquist into the Joker for the first time of asking.
Yeah, smart move by him, sitting there in the 4th spot to get that out of the way, see if something happens up front, and has an opportunity to make up some ground on this field. Right now, though, it is Mads Larsen, Vittels, and Otink, your top 3. Mads Larsen having a solid run today so far through some of these heats. Otink there in the second spot, just can't make up any ground on Mads Larsen. We're gonna have Otink all the way up top through the Joker.
Lovely execution of the Joker there. Real amount of local knowledge from the Dutch driver just to sit the front inside wheel on that curb but not touch it all the way around. Larsen has really turned up and shown great pace here against Vittels. Vittels, one of the title contenders from last season.
Wonder if we're going to see Vittels pull the trigger on the Joker just to break it up with Larsen. Larsen probably going to keep it till the last lap.
If I was Larsen's spotter, I'd send Larsen now and try and cover off Vittels. They're not going to do that. Vittels waited late, so close to the barrier on the left-hand side.
Just like you said, sometimes you don't want to split the middle. That was close.
Just gets out ahead of Otink in the background, who's been doing a great job here as well. Larsen, though, now needs to absolutely smash the lap of the day to keep ahead of a flying Roberts Vittels.
All right, so last lap, it is Larsen, Vittels, Otink. Larsen gonna have to take the Joker this time by. It looks like he does have enough gap. We're gonna see if Vittels can narrow it down as Mads Larsen does go take the Joker, as we said, and it looks like he's gonna have plenty of room to come back out front. One corner to go. See if Vittels can do anything. I don't think there's going to be enough time. There is not, so there's going to be Mads Larsen at the stripe with the win. Vittels in the second spot, Otink, and then Lindquist in the fourth and final spot. So we get a look here on the jump. Coming out into turn number one. Everybody kind of cycling in. Mads Larsen getting the lead and really just didn't look back most of the day. As there's that narrow miss on the Joker there. Last second trying to pull the trigger. And it was Mads Larsen, top honor, Supercar Lights, Q3 race 2, Vittels second, Otink, and then Lindquist there in the fourth spot in Supercar Lights. Mads Larsen looking really strong so far.
Yeah, actually worked for him that time, didn't it? As opposed to having those niggles and wrong place at the wrong time situations. And as we talk about that kind of scenario, as we move on to open four-wheel drive, that's exactly what happened with the four contenders in this one in Q2.
This one was very exciting. Probably not for the drivers, definitely for us calling it.
Anderson, who lost out badly in the first one, or second one this morning, sorry, keeps the inside. He got a couple of penalties in the first race. Then it was down here in turn 3 mid-race where he got the car turned in. I went to talk to him briefly in between the sessions. He said he got on the throttle and just nothing happened. So he almost felt bad for Casper Janssen that Casper had collected him in the side, broken quite a lot on the rear suspension that the JC Race Technic team will have absolutely no problems in fixing, but not ideal for the young Swede at all.
And Sirna at the end of that one ended up, I think, taking a DNF because he got stuck in the sand, wasn't able to finish the race.
For these two up front, Anderson and Janssen will be up front all year in the FC2 open four-wheel drive categories because they are really hot properties.
Anderson now trying to hold off a charging Casper Janssen.
Neither of them have had good days so far. An 8th and a 9th for Anderson based on the penalties and problems. Janssen's had a 7th and an 11th.
Which is not something we would think out of either driver we would see.
Not at all, no. So work to do, and this is exactly what the pair needs, actually. They need to keep it clean, follow each other around. You'd expect to see the Joker strategy get mixed up now, just so you're not following each other for the duration. But sometimes you do see that. If Janssen will know that Anderson has got great pace, but there is always the potential that an issue happens for Anderson where you then get caught up in his situation. So Janssen does indeed get out of that. Jokers clips the curb on the inside. Cerno, the opposite, runs very wide through the alternative extra route. But yeah, I don't think Janssen will be too bothered to follow Anderson around here, just knowing that the pace is very good.
So Anderson going to take the Joker on this time by. Got Casper Janssen already taking it. Don't know if he's going to have enough room to make up that ground on Anderson. Cerna there, looking to get a strong finishing effort. Big rotation there by the number 99 of Anderson. He is going to drift to the outside here around that Joker. Nice and tight, right on the inside. Beautiful Joker for Anderson.
If anything, he's gapped Janssen a bit there, hasn't he?
It was a beautiful turn. I mean, that was Joker perfection here at the Euro circuit, as it will be Anderson on top, Casper Janssen in the second spot, Cerna and then Leuten in the fourth spot. As we go back, get a look here at the start. Anderson in the 99 jumped out front early, dived to the bottom there in Per Eklund's corner. Never really looked back after that. A little bit of pressure there from Casper Janssen at times. Casper just settling in for that second spot. You see Casper take the Joker right on the inside curve there. Trying to create some extra inches. Cerna through as well. Anderson on the final lap with that just perfect turn through the Joker. Textbook.
And the pole setter in this moment from Truls Storbach's
All right, so this is going to be Q3 Race 2, open four-wheel drive. Darbic on the inside pole position. Klaassen, Omen, and Nason on the outside. Looking for that green flag. Watching Darbic on the inside. Great jump by Darbic in the 83 on the inside. He might get pinched off. Oh! Wow, look at that. Darbic had the great jump and just kind of got bumped around there all the way to the outside. Cycles back to fourth position.
God, I was wincing then because we've seen some high-speed incidents down there into the first corner here at the Valkenswaard Euro circuit, but they all got away with it. As you say, Darbic lost out badly, gets up the inside of Klaassen there. Will he Joker this time around? They both do. That's perfect for Tobias Darbic that Klaassen's gone with him, but yeah, messy first corner. Could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. I mean, for Darbic, I thought,
a spin for Omen.
As we say that, oh, that was Adam Oman there.
Omen's had a spin, and Nason has a lot of bodywork rubbing on the rear wheel. I wonder if that's going to cause the tyre to puncture at some stage. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but this could work out well into the hands of Darbic if that happened. There's quite a bit of damage there on the rear bodywork.
It is. You see smoke coming off that left rear. Like you said, that's tire, I believe.
Yeah, that's bodywork pushing on the tyre. Whether the Nova tyre can stay inflated for the duration. Really, you hope that the tyre wears through the bodywork, don't you, so that it stops pushing so much. But Darbic is right on the rear of the Swedish driver now.
Yeah, Darbic's starting to push a little bit. Still tire smoke coming off that tire. We call it self-clearance. You hope it self-clears itself.
Oh,
a little mistake. It
runs wide, gets a bit of rotation done. He's going to try and get it stopped into the hairpin.
I can't tell if the tire's still on or if he's on the wheel.
The other issue is you start driving defensive at this stage, don't you? But it's certainly moving around like he's lost the tyre to me. You can hear it maybe in the background.
Darbic going to push. Doesn't want to get collected.
Yeah, the car looks like it's badly wounded now. You're right, the tyre's gone into the gravel on the outside. Keep the foot in to try and drag it out with 3.5 wheel drive now. To cross the line, it still says we're on the last lap, but we must have finished, have we? There's something strange going on here because we've lost the tyre. I think I was watching the incident in the background, but I'm sure both drivers ran the chicane.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Something odd happened there. I wonder if they've thought it was the finish.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, and one chases the other, which if that's the case, they're both.
Well, they'll both be penalised for that, I'd have thought. Unless the graphic was wrong and I'm just totally mistaken, which is not unusual. Let's see what happened. We're going to have a look back at the first corner.
So Darbic
had a great start. He clipped the rear of Nason. I wonder if anything will happen with that in race control. This was, okay, he couldn't. That's tricky because he's got loaded up by being connected with the other cars. Then he's got free and then had contact. This is where Oman spun. Photographer got a great shot of that. This is that. The tyre went there, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure the tyre exploded at that
drift.
stage. You're right, the tyre was off there. There's so much reflection on the screen in the studio, it's hard to see. I'm sure you'll have seen that better at home than I did in here. Now let's look at what happens next time around. So you spotted that the car was all over the place.
Yeah, so they go through.
We don't see. They didn't take the chicane.
They didn't take the chicane. They didn't take the chicane, so.
What a
Mason possibly, did he finish?
He did finish, yeah. He finished third. 9 seconds off the back of Klaassen.
But what happens when you don't take the chicane? The top 2 drivers don't.
I wonder if Reinus Nittis can hear us and if he has any input on that. Let us know, Reinus, if you've any thoughts. What happens there, Reinus, when 2 drivers don't take the chicane and it's not the final lap? What is the norm?
I have to discuss with Chronomoto and with local stewards to see exactly what penalty it will be. It's not enough 3 or 5 seconds because to go straight after finish without taking chicane. I think it will be more, but we have to see more in details and then we come back with the conclusion.
Any idea why that happened, or it looks like a mistake from the driver's part?
No, you know, it's hot in a race car when you're racing, so I think it's just no thinking or overthinking or pushing too much to the limit, so sometimes it happens.
Thank you, Reinus.
So we will yet to be determined on that one, but we're all in agreement they did skip the chicane.
Well, I was doubting myself for a little while.
Well, I
but
was too, because you don't normally see 2 drivers do it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Klaassen looked like he was going for the chicane, then maybe he thought it was the end, or. But what's mad is, before we start this one, is in a rallycross race, after the first lap, I never know what lap I'm on because you're so focused on what you're doing. It's only 4 laps, but
it's intense. It's a very intense 4 laps.
And I'm also simple, so it's not difficult.
All right, so we got a couple of Ericsson entries, Bell as well as Grunholm in this one.
Great start from Nicholas Grunholm. Great reaction from P2. Gets the door shut. Kevin Eriksson also shuts the door on his brother from the outside. Gets a bit of rotation, but it's the supercar at the back of Bart Bell. 2 OMC machines in the same livery are running 1 and 2, and the other OMC machine here of Ollie Eriksson running 3.
And Oliver Eriksson top honors the last time in this group, and he's going to elect to take the Joker right at the last second.
Late decision that was, and I'm not convinced that's the best strategy because you really need to hope that Bell gets a wriggle on here and pulls away as his brother Kevin hounds the rear of FC2 debutant Nicholas Grunholm. Look at Ollie Eriksson on a massive charge. You can just see the attitude of the car. He's got it set up hard through the chicane. Kevin Eriksson's applying big pressure to the back of Nicholas Grunholm.
Big drift there by Oliver Eriksson in the background. I mean, big drift around that corner into the gravel section.
So much experience now, Ollie in an FC2. Did the whole championship last year, did all the development driving together with Kevin in the previous season as well.
I know stateside he's been doing a lot of driver training and coaching in the FC2s as well.
Kevin looks to the inside of Nicholas Grunholm through the final corner. They'll definitely mix the Joker strategy with 2 laps to go. Kevin moving the car around on the brakes, looking for an opportunity. Nicholas clearly not quite as comfortable as teammate Kevin Eriksson at the moment. Remember, they were teammates in the World Rallycross Championship back in 2016, it would have been, in the OMSE team. And an interesting fact, Kevin Eriksson has lost so much weight over the winter that he's now back in his 2016 race suit because the other ones were all way too big for him. I'm surprised they haven't mixed the Joker strategy up there, Jim. I thought Kevin would go just to give himself an opportunity, but Bell and Ollie Eriksson are too close. They're probably in the window here for Kevin to run into a bit of trouble and maybe some traffic. So he's really hoping that Nicholas gets a hurry up and they can Joker together on the last lap and maintain their position because, of course, Bell is yet to Joker.
Yeah, with Eriksson, Oliver Eriksson, the only one that has Jokered, he's really got a shot to get around Bell. I don't know if he's got enough for his brother, Kevin or Grunholm, but I know looks like Oliver Eriksson probably going to get around Bell this time as he gets right up on the rear bumper. You're going to see the top 2. They're going to take the Joker. Bell's going to take it as well. There's Oliver Eriksson to the inside. He's on the standard lap. He is going to get around Bell for the 3rd spot.
He'll be ruining that time lost. I think that's a poor Joker strategy. from the car that now finishes third, because that traffic was just too much to overcome, especially on a track that's pretty difficult to overtake on, like it is here. Fastest lap of the race from Ollie Eriksson on a 37.6. Not quite as quick as the fastest lap time from Casper Janssen. Nicholas Gronholm does a 2:36.2, and that is not enough to take the fastest time. Lucas Anderson makes up for a difficult day so far in the JC Race Technique Run Machine to be top in Q3, and we'll have to see how that plays out in the intermediate classification.
So that brings us Nicholas Gronholm with the win. Open four-wheel drive Q3 Race 3. Kevin Eriksson and Oliver Eriksson in the second, third spot. Bart Bell going to be in the fourth and final. Well, that's going to wrap up the qualifications for today, so that leaves the fun stuff left.
Yeah, knockout races. So if you're new to Rallyx or Rallycross in general, qualifying's done. All times go out of the window now. We're into knockout races, semi-finals and finals. You need to be in the top 3 if it's a 2 semi, or a top 2 if it's a 3 semi to progress, and then everything goes out the window in the final, and everyone's fighting for the top 3 in the podium.
This is where I like it. This is where I say the gloves come off. For you motocross fans, the elbows go out, and we go racing here. But semifinals and finals yet to remain in all of our divisions, as we're actually getting all kinds of smells here. I love this booth because we're getting clutch smells, brake smells, all kinds of things coming on here. But lots more to come here at Rallyx from Valkenswaard.